Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to playoff racing action on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It's the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. We're into the round of 8, 2 races before we get to our last to see who will race for a championship. But tonight, it is going to that of the 2.5 mile course where drivers get to test their skills at the Brickyard. It's the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and drivers are ready and set to go, and we're ready to give you the coverage again here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Zire. With me is Zach Hall. Also have Robert Moyer Jr. running productions. And Zach, this is the destination. Drivers just finished up qualifying. It's going to be a long one here tonight.
That it is 110 laps, that stage at lap 50, but man, definitely the world famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They've never raced it before here in the truck series, and I'm excited to see who can conquer it here tonight, to have North Wilkesboro off next week to have a little bit of time to prepare for that championship. And
you see also a little bit more detail into this course as we take a look at our official results, sponsored by the Laugh Lap. Laugh Lap, if you're wanting to get some great memes and great laughs on Instagram, go to the_laugh_lap. And for some great laughs, as they will be our qualifying results. And it's Mark Whitley going to find himself topping the board as he is coming off his win from last week at that of Nashville Fairgrounds. Then Nick Crawford's going to find himself in second. Noah Steele in third. Danny Cochran going to be in fourth. And those top four all aiming for the top four after tonight, trying to go for that of the final four. Then you've got GT Rosari coming back for a couple of races for the 14 and 5th. Ollie Fonseca going to be in 6th. Cedric Hunter 7th. Christopher Norris 8th. That of Trenton Jump 9th. 10th goes to that of Nolan Hicks.
In the 11th position, it's going to be the 25 of Cody Reed. 12th is going to be the 11 of John Forbes. 13th is going to be the 19 of Tyler Dingler. 14th is going to be the 5 of Dakota Maniz. 15th place is going to go to Joshua Free, the 96 machine. And our last two cars on the field that did not take time. And 16th and the 17th position, that is Ethan Smith and Martin Morales Jr. That rounds out the grid.
Tonight, long race, 110 laps in total. Stage break at lap 50. 0 fast repairs for these drivers and 4 extra sets in pit road for drivers to utilize here tonight. Fuel run, going to be close, but it should be a one-stop from this point to our stage break, and then a one-stop from our stage break to that of the end of the race. So drivers have to pick and choose when do you come into pit road. But Zach, Indianapolis, I know a track that you love to race on, but for these drivers, what are you expecting to see from them?
Well, I know a lot of drivers coming in this week, they don't have that same sentiment I have about this racetrack. It's definitely one of my top ones up there just to come to and race at. It just gives you that feeling of, you're racing at a historic track like this where so many historic things have happened. But this is going to throw them a little bit of curveball. Like I said earlier, this is the first time they've ever went to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And also, this is the new IndyCar layout here, as it's got a new rescan as we got the new road course layout and all that, and just these past couple updates. So this is a little bit newer surface to these guys. It might be a little bit more slick, so these trucks are going to be sliding on top there. Finding the groove is going to be the key here tonight, and tons of fall off. That is going to be another topic of discussion, because these trucks are going to take off at about a 53 flat is what we see Mark Whitley run there in qualifying. But once they get 5-10 laps in, you're going to see seconds up to 2 seconds, and sometimes even 3 seconds of fall off around this 2.5 mile race course, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. So this first 50 lap stage here is going to be critical to see who can manage their stuff the best and keep it out front, because clean air here is so essential as these flat, high-speed corners here really all demand downforce.
We're expecting the tire drop off, and then add on to that the weather drop off. The track temp has been falling quite quickly throughout practice. They had an hour practice before this. It went from 109 degrees now down to just 100 for the track temp, meaning a little bit of extra grip. How will that affect the drivers? It's time to find out, as that of the Logan-led 275 here in Indianapolis is green, and the start of the round of 8 is going to be here as Nick Crawford and Mark Whitley thunder down into turn number 1.
I have to watch out here to be careful down here into turn 1. A lot of loose conditions going to be happening here early as these tires start to build up the temperature, and cold temperatures and low air pressure are going to really equate to these trucks wanting to snap around. But through 1 and 2, it looks like everybody will make it through cleanly as Mark Whitley takes a stranglehold on that lead after really putting a dominant performance there with that lap he put down.
That was one of the fastest laps that I've seen anyone put down. There's been a lot of practice throughout the week, and the drivers been as part of those practices are going to be finding themselves third, fourth, and fifth. That's Danny Cochran, Noah Steele, and Aldo Fonseca getting a little bit of early practice, an hour before the session actually opened, and they were looking quick. The quickest of them all, actually the 24, who's being battled currently, but Mark Whitley, who surprised everyone with a very quick time of being up front, dominating last week in Nashville Fairgrounds. He'll lead lap number 1 for the 77, and as well for Mark Whitley and Danny Cochran, both winners from the last round. So both getting a 5 bonus point advantage into this round. And Zach, we've seen the points be very close on both entering the playoffs, the cutoff of the round of 16, and also the cutoff for the round of 12. Drivers know every point matters.
Every point does definitely matter, Sam. And I tell you, that stage at lap 50 is going to be critical, but also getting those most points, like you said, most laps led here. That's what Mark Whitley's going to be looking to do here. And with that dominant qualifying run, he's definitely shown a lot of pace. So we'll see, can he continue to hold that lead there till that lap 50? But there will be one pit stop in that stage, so you're going to see when that will happen. That's going to be kind of what the strategy plays out, is they can go about 31 laps here on fuel tonight. So splitting that up is probably where most drivers are going to be, around lap 25 as we hop on board the 31 machine.
Being on board and gain a sense of what it's like heading into turn number 1. Drivers trying to maximize their speed, especially with these trucks. Momentum base has always been the wording on how these trucks react with one another. But also, Zach, aerodynamics seems to be also the key of tonight.
That it really does. This track here, super flat for how high speed these corners are. And that right there is going to be a key critical thing to try to get as much clean air as possible. And right here with Danny Cochran tucked up right behind that 4 machine, it's going to be tough to get any of that clean air on the nose where you make most of your downforce. So he'll duck a little bit left here and get a little bit of air on that entry. That really is going to help that truck. But as he comes off the corner, it's going to get a little bit tight there as it pushes up the racetrack, just not having the downforce that 4 machine is going to have.
And all drivers in line with this lead pack as our top 16 are there. One driver, though, deciding to start on pit road. That's Tyler Dangler. That's going to be already 11 seconds off our leaders and already extremely off the pace from everyone else, just showing the draft is going to be a major factor for yourself to watch out for. As we see that of Christopher Norris, one of the drivers that got bumped out from that last round, thought like he was going to be a threat coming into the round of 8, but then caught up in a big one at Nashville Fairgrounds where he kind of ended the 38th night and his playoff run. He's also going to be running with the 14 of GT Rizari. And let's talk with some of the drivers. This track layout and the way that it is a flat, speedy track, this is where we've seen GT Rizari look very strong. Wouldn't be surprised for the 14 if he has a decent run for himself this evening.
Yeah, and high tire wear tracks, that's really a place that he's really been also good at. So this place is going to be up there with those right now, battling that 38 Christopher Norris, and they're getting very, very close there. And you got to be careful because these guys are already a little bit on the looser edge of things. So when you get that little bit of a condition of getting loose there, if you got that truck on your outside of your quarter panel, it could easily end up in contact. And that's not what these drivers are going to want to see here early. Damage at this racetrack, like we said, downforce is so critical. If you get damage here, not only will it take a little bit of downforce away from you, but it's also going to add a little bit of drag on these long straightaways where really that speed or straightaway speed is going to be very critical to make passes.
And as well, drivers that I expected to qualify a lot higher in the run, starting deeper in the field. Trenton Jump, John Forbes, as well as Ethan Smith, all starting a little bit either on that 10th place or further on back. You see here John Forbes, Trenton Jump, 10th, 11th for themselves. A lot deeper in the field than I was really expecting from these two drivers that honestly have looked the strongest when it comes to some of the best finishes and average finishes to the end of these races.
It is a little bit head scratching, no doubt indeed. And you know, as this race goes on, they got plenty of time to figure it out, and I think that's what a lot of these drivers are going to be trying to do. Maybe they didn't get as much preparation in this week to be prepared for this racetrack as you saw Irizarry there make the pass on Norris. But it's a tough racetrack. It takes a very specific way to drive here, and if you don't hit your marks right, you're going to be struggling. So I think some of these guys are trying to feel there's a little bit of effects as Hicks and Norris there almost into contact. That's going to slow up that 86 and allow the 13 and also the 46 to go by on the outside here as that draft really helps when you're up top.
And also going to be seen that of the 11, a little bit of contact going to be there for Hicks on the quarter panel. Trent Jump's going to be shuffling up, but John Forbes stuck behind that of Hicks, and he's going to have to just fall in line and lose touch with that of the 46 and the 13. The playoff contenders all mixed and mingled and you cannot afford to get any type of damage. Now, we're only on lap 7 of 110. Again, our stage break at the end of lap 50, around that halfway marker, as we're watching on board with the 00, Ethan Smith. A very close, slim pass by John Forbes, as that of Nolan Hicks still going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, just that little bit of a moment off of 2 last time that really slowed him up on the back straightaway. And this is a momentum track, especially in these trucks. With the lower horsepower in these trucks, you lose a little bit of speed, it really will hurt you and really drop you back very, very quickly. So Ethan Smith's going to be trying to set up Hicks next and try to get that pass done. But again, it's so tough to pass at this racetrack unless you can get some type of, very good run out of the corner and the driver ahead of you makes a mistake. It's almost pretty much impossible because of just that draft up top there on the back on these straightaways. So it's going to be very critical to see which drivers can utilize that the best. But as these tires wear out, the opportunities will become more and more.
And driver that has made the biggest move so far is this 00, Ethan Smith. Our top driver that decided not to qualify is this 00. But we look at the ticker, and Zach, something I'm kind of surprised by. Mark Whitley, our leader, he has a pretty decent gap, 1.3 seconds over Danny Cochran. He's already broken the draft in the 77. This is some strength that he's showing right now, 0.2 faster than Danny Cochran. But now the thought starts to loom. We're 8 laps in. Is 77 maybe driving a little bit too hard, or did that dirty air in those first 3 laps hurt the 31 this bad?
Yeah, that's going to be a huge question. I'm not too surprised to see the 77 out here this far. I mean, he's in practice had some excellent pace, so you're going to see probably him try to open up that gap as much as he possibly can here. But like you said, it's going to be maybe at the detriment of the tires. We'll have to see here as the run goes on. But with these guys only able to go 31 laps anyways, I mean, you're looking at already a third of this run almost being complete. So if you can open up a gap like that, you're going to want to do it. But look at that Fonseca. He was able to make that pass in that 24 and that 31 and move his way forward, as he was one of the fastest there in practice too. So I think this 24, he may have something up his sleeve here tonight.
I know, talking with Danny Cochran as well as Fonseca, they've been putting in a lot of practice time. They all said Ollie looks fast, as he has been one of the fastest throughout almost every practice session they've had. And when the track starts to cool off more and more, that's when the 24 just seems to find another gear as the track temp goes down another degree. I think that's going to be a big thing for us to note on. Again, start of the race, right when they started rolling, the track temp was at 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and it has been going down since practice. So these drivers expected to see the track just tighten up just a little bit, get that extra grip, as we already have one driver out of this race. That's Joshua Freed, who gets a bad slam into the outside wall between turns 3 and 4 back on lap number 4. The 96 has parked it and called it a day.
That's a tough break for him, and that's kind of something we've seen in practice. They're sitting there watching it, is just, one big moment really in your truck, and you can really hit the wall pretty hard, and that can really have a huge detriment on it. And we've seen motors blow, so we're going to have to watch for that all night long. It looks like Freed was the first driver to really fall into that thing, so we'll see how that works out. But here looks like Nick Crawford, who was in that second spot from the start of this race, looks like he's starting to close back in on the back bumper of this 31. And this is going to be interesting to see how the rest of this run goes, as we're 1/3 through this first run here. It's going to be very interesting to see whose tires are going to be in the best spot at which point. And right now, it looks like maybe the 31 struggling for it.
The 31 struggling, but right now, I give credit to a lot of the drivers up front on how they've been just keeping steady, keeping themselves out of trouble. That seemed to be also another talking point of how do you keep yourself out of trouble throughout this race. Some have talked about how do you gain some time, and they've said the best way to gain time is going to be going into pit road there late in these stints, because of the fact that you can have drivers trying to be a little bit more aggressive on the entry. Some have talked about, hey, I don't want to risk getting the black flag. I might have to decide to just come into pit road a little bit easier, which could give you and cost time in that longer run. As you see Cedric Hunter in the 13 machine just giving his way. He was the biggest underdog to make it out of the round of 8, heading into Nashville, but had the biggest hole to dig out of, and he did so. He is still in the playoffs, which we got 8 drivers left there, Zach. 8 very strong drivers to try to battle for a championship.
That it will be, man. It's 8 of the toughest for sure, and it's going to be interesting to see who can lock themselves in tonight here to try to go battle for a championship and, not have to worry about North Wilkesboro. That's a tough racetrack also coming up next week. So if you can go ahead and lock yourself in like Mark Whitley is doing at the moment, pulling this gap like this, if he was able to win this race, that would give him a lot of preparation time for the final race of the season. So I'm interested to see, how it's going to work out here tonight, but still plenty of time to go, really, for 110 laps here. This race is going to go through a lot of changes, even the racetrack itself, so we'll have to pay attention to that for sure all night long as you're riding on board with that 13 machine, trying to run down that pack up ahead of them, as that group is really all the way from 2nd to 6th there, from Ali Fonseca and Noah Steele. That group is starting to bunch up more and more, but I'll tell you what, it looks like Irizarry here, he's going to have Noah Steele in this 8 machine to his inside.
And going to be that 31 helping out Noah Steele. And Noah Steele, we've talked about how he's kind of been the biggest underdog through the playoffs. So you look at the stats, that's where we could say out of those 8 drivers that made it in, he is the biggest underdog. The stats just don't look as spectacular as everyone else. Everyone else has multitudes of top 10s, a handful of top 5s, while this 8 machine only coming in with 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s. But the speed certainly has been there. It's just the finishes that Noah Steele's been struggling with. And I could say after Charlotte, this is where Noah Steele's really been stepping up for himself this season.
He really has. I mean, he has picked it up definitely here lately, and it's been impressive to see. And look at this big run from Irizarry there as they get side by side with the 31 of Cochran and Steele there down the front straightaway. Looks like the 14 is going to elect to push the 8 machine as he's going to try to also get to the inside of the 31. And look at that, just look at the help there. He's able to pull completely alongside that 31 and now going to be in position to make that pass also. It just shows you how powerful the draft can be when you work together here in these trucks.
And able to bump draft those 2 drivers were of Steele and Irizarry through the front stretch, able to keep each other clean. But you also got to see that clear non-visibility that 14 had. Luckily was able to see when the corner was coming up. But now here comes that draft package for the 31. He's trying to get back, but it just seems like that 31 of Danny Cochran used up way too much of his tires as he was trying to make the pass on Mark Whitley in those first 5 laps. It has gone completely awry for the 31 as he continues to struggle. But in front of them, you can start to see the battling for 2nd place as Nick Crawford now starting to get by the 24.
That he is. It looks like Nick Crawford there saving those tires just a little bit. Maybe going to be able to make a move here on the 24 machines. He's going to cover off the inside, not give him the draft here. Nick Crawford going to stay up high here, trying to set up this pass, but we'll see can the 4 make something happen down the back straightaway. Looks like he was able to get a little bit lower there, get a little air on the left front of that nose there and try to pull himself right back in place, but it's still so tough to pass. And while this is all going on, Mark Whitley still continuing to open up that gap. The 77 is on rails.
He certainly is. Ever since he's gotten away, it has looked very good for himself as the driver is going to be trying to sneak up where they want to go. GT Irizarry gets into that outside wall 3 wide. Pass can be made behind as that is Cedric Hunter, 2 for 1 meal for himself as he moves up to 5th place.
Yeah, that was a great pass there from the 13 machine. Like you said, 2 for 1 deal there for him pretty much as he's going to move himself up into the top 5 for the first time tonight after a little bit of a poor qualifying effort there in 7th as he dropped back a few spots also on the start, but working his way up, and that's what's critical here. These stage points can, like we said earlier, Sam, it's going to be every single point matters. If you can go here and get more stage points piled up here to start this beginning of this race around lap 50, it's going to really help you head not only here for the finish of tonight's race, but also heading into North Wilkesboro next week for maybe building that little bit of a gap you want to have.
You want every small gap like we saw last week at Natural Fairgrounds. The big one struck of some playoff drivers. The same thing could happen in North Wilkesboro where the drivers going to have to deal with a lot of elevation change or braking zones, a lot of dive bombs where drivers could easily make one slip up and you can see a complete gridlock if someone makes too big of a mistake. See drivers deeper in the field. Talk about Christopher Norris being bounced out of the round of 12. Thought he was going to make it out of the round of 8. Cody Reed, another one of those drivers that got bounced out, just did not have a strong enough run last week. Had too many incidences. We also saw him have a spin in the early portions of that Fairgrounds race. Well, the 25, and listening to those drivers that had practice sessions, well, they all said Cody Reed has been struggling for himself, and we're seeing it now on track in 13th place, but not the worst thing in the world. He's staying back. Yes, he's not completely running where he wants to be, but the mindset's completely different. Same for this 5. They're thinking about the win, not points, so you don't need to be up in the top 10 just yet.
Yeah, you don't need to be up in that top 10 just yet, no doubt indeed, but I tell you what, the struggle is going to possibly get better here for them as the race goes on, as they try to find that little bit of speed here for themselves. And maybe just it's really more of a comfort thing here when you come to Indianapolis. And it looks like Reed up there. You can see up the racetrack. That's one thing he's going to have to change up. You can't get in too deep. You miss that bottom groove there. If you're even a half a lane up, there's just way less grip up there. So you're going to have to do your best to try to get that left side tire down below that white line and find as much grip as possible as Moniz is trying to close his way in here to try to set up a pass possibly to take that 13th position. That would drop Reed back into 14th, and that'd be tough for him who's starting at 11th, so continuing to drop spots.
And then running some tribute machines back in that of 19th, in that of 15th and 16th. We've got Power Ranger cars out there on track. Mark Morales, he is having his own little run right now, being about 2 seconds off of Dakota Moniz. And then Tyler Dangler, who we said started on pit road, he is going to be now currently 18 seconds back as he started and deciding to just stay the lot more conservative route. But it's cool to see the Power Ranger machines out there on track, having a decent, just trying to survival run for themselves.
That they are just trying to survive here for the first beginning of this race, stay on the lead lap. That's going to be probably a goal of a lot of these drivers here. And luckily for themselves, this is a long racetrack, so you have plenty of time here before that leader is going to catch up to you. But someone like Tyler Dingler, he's going to have to worry more as he started on pit road. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But right now, Christopher Norris right here behind Trenton jumping. That's one of the trucks I'm kind of surprised by, is that number 46 machine. I was expecting a little bit more pace from him here tonight, our defending champion, but just has not found it yet. But he is starting to close into the back of this group right here ahead. That's
going to be a big thing. Like we talked about stage points, and due to the fact that Danny Cochran as well as Mark Whitley both having that 5 bonus point advantage over the other drivers, you have a total of 6 that are all tied. And for Trenton Jump being ahead of John Forbes, also Ethan Smith, feeling good for himself, but that means that he's still behind that, and Noah Steele, Danny Cochran, and all the other playoff drivers. This 46 needs to be moving forward, exactly what he's doing right now. When we look at the lap times, his pace is looking good, anywhere from 2 to 3 tenths faster than the 3 drivers in front of him.
And it really is, man. Looking actually pretty quick right here. Steele's finally going to get that pass, look to get past Cochran here and hold off that position there in the 5th spot. But Cochran, Steele, and Irizarry have not been able to get away from each other. These 3 have all been around each other for really the past 5 or 6 laps, battling it up. And here comes Trenton Jump. This should be a good run here out of 2, but I think the draft is going to help that 14 get a little bit more speed. But here comes the 46 going to be looking down the inside, but also the 14 going to be looking to the inside of the 31.
Trying to somehow deke out the 14, but I think overall that deke might have hurt the 46 on his entry. Just did not get high enough on the entry, and his apex completely off, missed that inside groove. And now he's going to hope that he can get at least a decent run out of turn number 4, and looked like for GT Irizarry, much better run. But here comes the draft and the 14, trying to get by that 31 machine.
Yeah, here they go, trying to make it happen once more again, but the 31, I think they're going to have to concede the position. But oh man, cutting back down, maybe going to try to do the crossover here, coming out of 1, and he will get to the inside here, heading down the 2. The 14 looked like he was going to try to cover him off there. The 31 all the way down the racetrack actually gets a little bit of the curve. You got to be careful though. You want to get that left side below the white line, but if you catch that curve, it can really upset that race truck, and that's what it did. Cochran now going to lose the draft from the 14 as he drops down and gives it to the 46 machine. So right now Cochran losing out in this situation here after coming in with a 5-point bonus, for winning in the last round.
That 5-point bonus, but it might all just be thrown away, because as this battling is going on back for the passing for that of 8th as well for 9th, by drivers up front, we got that of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. That of Ali Fonseca, he was able to defend Nick Crawford, but Cedric Hunter now in the mix, and the teammates drafting, and now to the outside quarter panel of the 24.
Yeah, this will be a hard pass to make on the outside. The 13 going to look to get it done, but the 24 slides back across the nose. Now the 13 going to look to the inside, down in the 2, and this is tough. When you don't have it fully alongside that person that you're next to, it is so tough to make that entry work. And he just could not get it to work there, but now going to look to the outside once again, and another draft. This is just showing you how powerful it is. Now the 13 back to the inside here, trying to make it work here, heading down the 3. This will be a little bit better of an opportunity at this speed.
And the big thing there, Ali Fonseca was trying to get a little bit of a toe from the driver that just came to pit road. That would be Martin Morales Jr. And the 24 decided not to defend the 13, was more focused on the draft, which gave that opening for Cedric Hunter to get to the inside. Nick Crawford follows just in line. And just like that, the 24 from 2nd back to 4th in 1 lap. And now he's got to be careful of not losing too much ground and stay in touch. It's the bump drafting, and here comes the battle back for third. To the inside is Aldo Fonseca. He's in that preferred lane. Can Nick Crawford get the better run? It just looks like the 4 has still just a little bit more extra grip to work with as he defends for that third place position.
Yeah, that was a great move to actually make that work on the outside. Just backed up his corner entry, allowed the 24 really to charge it in there, get the center speed, but really that 4 had the exit speed that really helped him down that short shoot heading to 2, and he was able to close the door there heading off into 2 to really solidify that third place position. His teammate now in the 13 is going to try to set sail and see what type of pace he has, but I think pit stops could be looming pretty quickly here, as some of these drivers are definitely struggling for grip and falling back out of those stage points. But it's going to be critical to see getting on the pit road, no mistakes. This is a tough pit road to get onto because you come at such high speeds and it's very easy to lock up those tires.
It's very easy to do so as drivers all deciding to really pick and choose and find the fine tunings of how they wanted their brake bias to be. I know there were a lot of talking points of keeping their brake bias at default to help with those pit stop entries. Others deciding with a lower brake bias for that of the on-track issues. But Zach, that's the very small things that these drivers can change up while out here in a fixed setup league.
That they can. That is definitely your one big adjustment as driver. You know, you can adjust how you drive the car, but the biggest adjustment you're going to have is that brake bias, especially while you're racing. You know, before we get in the car, we have our steering offset, our steering ratios. Those really affect the steering box of the truck, and really just try to make it as most comfortable for yourself. But that brake bias is going to be a balance adjustment. So if you want to get a little bit more rotation on the entry of those corners, and looks like we're going to have a little bit of action here as the 4 is going to bring it down the pit road and hit pit road. Looks like a couple more cars behind him also will, so pit road's going to heat up a little bit. But yeah, that brake bias is an adjustment. If you move it forward in percentage and raise that number of front brake percentage, you're going to get a little bit of a tighter entry. It's going to make those front brakes work a little bit harder than the rear brakes and make that truck slow down better, but it also will shove the balance to the rear of the truck. So it's definitely a decision that you play with as you come to, and also when you come to pit road, you can play with it also. If you're kind of aggressive on the rear brake where the truck really wants to snap out, if you can dial that front brake in right before you come to pit road, it's a little bit more less sketchy, as they would say, entering pit road.
Yeah, little small things that you can change up and help you on that entry, but if you don't have it set properly, a black flag is waiting in the windows if you find yourself being caught speeding. As here comes our leader into pit road, Mark Whitley. Saw Nick Crawford coming to pit road, did not want to give an advantage to the Ford machine. He'll come in immediately, but staying out. Gonna be that is Cedric Hunter and the rest of the field.
Yeah, I like this call there from Whitley. I mean, just with the pace he's had all night here, he's opened up such a big gap. He has a lot of wiggle room there to work the strategy, but I think he felt like, you know, I still want to keep the clean air. I don't know when to get out there in older tires and let me have to work my way around them. I've really enjoyed that opportunity to stay out front there this whole time. So that's a good call to come down here. Lap 25, split it all the way into half here. But I also like the call from the 13 because he gets a lap led now. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's on pit road very soon.
Drivers all now screaming out. They're coming into pit road this time by. All recognizing, hey, the leader came in. We cannot lose more ground. We'll have that 1 lap advantage, which we talked about here, Zach. Any lap, just 1 lap is massive here at Indy just to have for yourself. But with how, like I said, Mark Whitley's gap so big, I don't think that it really is going to matter too much. But the gaggle of cars behind this 13 is where the chaos potentially could happen.
Oh, and also the 38 there spins it around the front straightaway. The caution may come out with this, and it will. Man,
Cody Reed.
That changes it up.
And with that yellow, Mark Whitley is in a questionable spot because he's now going to just have 1 lap of used up green flag tires, and the rest of the field that already came into pit road, they're now going to lose an advantage. Those that just came into pit road, what a racing feeling this has got to be for themselves as we take an instant replay. This is 38, just misjudging coming into pit road.
Yeah, and like I said, it's such a tough pit road. Look how far behind you was this group, and everybody's stacking up here really slow here on the entry of pit road. The 38 there just probably too hard on the brakes not to get into the 11 or the 14, loses that rear end, spins it around, and right on the front straightaway, bringing out that yellow, and that is going to have a huge effect on this race.
In drivers that did not pit, going to be that Trenton jump, Cody Reed, Christopher Norris, who brought out the yellow, as well as Tyler Dangler, who was still on the lead lap, the 19. He'll be on the advantage side for tires on this restart, as we now get to test and see how does 1, 2, maybe even 3 laps of tire difference. We're going to change up the factor of this race as drivers just catching up to the pace car, which gives us time to say some thanks to our amazing sponsors we have here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Starting things up, you see in the upper left blinking away. Well, that's exactly what the iRacing iFlag virtual flag system does for you. It gives you clear indications on what the flag state is on track. If you've got a black flag, if you've got a leader coming behind you and they give you a blue, or even if it's a full course yellow, it will blink and give you that clear indication. Go head over to iRacingIFlag.com and use our promo code FreakyFast2022 as the 2022 season is coming to a close for a lot of these leagues. Zach, I know for sure they're going to want at least this product for the Christmas season.
That they could, man. I tell you what, the iRacing iFlag, it's a great product, but also we have the admin box that you can add with it. One of the best button boxes out there, folks, is not only does it give you the driver functionality that most button boxes do, but this also gives you that race control functionality that allows you to admin a race or control a race. So make sure you head on over to adminbox.com. You see the discount code there, FFB/BOXX. They get a discount at purchase, and you can have yourself race control at your fingertips and have two great, amazing sim products.
And with all the drivers that decided to pit early, the driver that I have was up front, and now going to be the biggest disadvantage on this race start. It's the 86 of Nolan Hicks. He came into pit road 6 laps ago, and he will be the driver up front. Mark Whitley going to be having 3 laps of usage on his tires. And they got a cluster of drivers with 4 laps of usage. That's going to be Nick Crawford, Danny Cochran, and Ethan Smith. Cedric Hunter just came in 2 laps ago. Dakota Moniz came in 4 laps ago. Then you've got Noah Steele coming in 3 laps ago. Then the rest of the drivers that were caught up in that incident, when the timing of the yellow flag coming out, we had 2 to 3 laps behind. But then we've got that of Cody Reed, Trenton Jump, Christopher Norris, Tyler Dangler, as well as Mark Morales, all going to be in a slight advantage here. I mean, Zach, this is going to be the fun look of how well did you save your tires on this run, or were you overcooking them by trying to get an advantage on if you stayed green?
That's going to be the big question for sure. I mean, some of these guys got some old tires out there, and you know, this track's also pretty weird with how it plays out. You know, most of the time, if that caution was to happen like that in the middle of a sequence of pit stops, you would be in trouble. You would not like the situation you'd be in, because most of the time you're going laps down when you come to pit road. But with it being a 53 to 55 second lap time around this racetrack, it's similar to a road course in the fact that you can come to pit road and still stay on the lead lap if you have enough gap. So a lot of these drivers were lucky that situation played out like that, where it didn't really hurt them. But someone like Trenton Jump, who did get a lap led, it is going to hurt him, as it's going to drop him almost to the near rear of this field.
As drivers are getting themselves situated here tonight, thank you for joining us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name's Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall, Robert Morty Jr., running productions here this evening. This is actually the one race this week, Zach. I thought we maybe had a broadcast tomorrow. I forgot. But this is our only broadcast of the week. Holiday season. It's Thanksgiving here in the United States. But Zach, holiday season, things to be thankful for. But man, it has been a blast to give you all the coverage throughout the year here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. And it's crazy to think that we've only have 2 more series left to take off. We've got this season and series of the ISRC, and then the full send racing on Tuesday night. But man, it's crazy to think 2022 almost done for the year.
It is crazy. It's just flashed before our eyes, man. I can remember when we just started off in January pretty much of this year doing, you know, our juvenile diabetes race. So it's just crazy how far we've came in 1 year, but man, it's been a pleasure to be part of it, and we cannot wait to finish it out here with these great 2 leagues that we do have left, and then come back in 2023 all geared up and full of energy, man, because I'll tell you what, it is a pleasure to do this stuff, but sometimes you can get a little burnt.
You certainly can, and some other things that are coming out this week. We don't have any live broadcasts, but the plan is to have episode 3 of the ISRC long run. That is the behind the scenes of how the drivers are thinking through the playoffs. Well, the round of 12 conversation for episode 3. That's going to come out later this week as we are back to Green Flag Racing. Nolan Hicks, old tires, and so does most of those in the top 10. Let's see where they lie out. 31 laps in, 20 to go before our stage break, and it's going to be Nolan Hicks somehow holding strong through that at turn 1.
Yeah, great launch actually for him through one, but I think after this turn two, I think Mark Whitley is going to take that lead quickly back here. You're going to see him get right to the bottom of that and get right to the quarter pound of the 86. Now going to have a giant run here down this back straightaway, and he's going to try to get back to that lead where he has been pretty much since the start of this race. Only thing stopped him there was that pit stop sequence. So he's back out front now. We'll see how does Hicks hold on with those older tires. That's going to be the big question for me, is once they start to heat up, that's when it's really going to show how bad those tires are.
And again, watch out for a lot of these drivers out here. Nick Crawford's going to be, as well as Denny Cochran, Dakota Moniz, and that of Ethan Smith, all on similar older tires. They're the second oldest tire group out there besides Nolan Hicks. Then you've got that of Mark Whitley, Nick Crawford. They both came in at the similar time, so we'll see how well can these drivers cycle their way through. But those with the freshest of rubber, that's going to be Cody Reed, Christopher Norris, Trenton Jump. That of Trenton Jump, they're going to be back 11th, 12th, and 13th. They have not moved any positions from where they started on that restart, and really nobody's been moving, even with the tire difference so far.
No, they really have not. It's really been a kind of a stalemate here to take off on this run, and some drivers really gaining a lot of track position through all of this is definitely Nolan Hicks, Dakota Moniz, and Ethan Smith. So we'll see how that works out for them. But farther back in the pack, I think Dakota Moniz really missed the corner in the 5, and he really lost out there. As it's going to be Cedric Hunter getting by him, and now he's going to have a whole truckload of trucks right behind him.
Stay to the high side. We'll see where the rest of the draft wants to go. Who's going to assist who? You see drivers going 2 wide, almost 3. As Steele, Cody Reed going to be working with one another on that inner groove. Moniz stays high, a little bit of a slide by the 5. He'll hold on for now. It's again another cluster of drivers past the 5 machine, and finally going to be clear and hopefully able to get down on that inside lane. Will do so. Slotted right in front of Christopher Norris in 13th place. As see Cody Reed, Trenton Jump, a little bit of side-by-side action. GT Rosario going to be giving the draft to that of the 46. As Cody Reed just hoping the toe to the 8 machine is going to help him surge currently. And again, into the corners where it is tough for the 25 when he's not in line. You got to use up so much of your tire to even just hold that position for where he's at.
Yeah, he is trying to hold everything he has, but it's just so tough there. You see where he is right now. Trying to clear that 25 machine. Now the 38 of Christopher Norris directly behind him, who had that slide on the entry to pit road that brought out our first caution. But we'll see how he can work his way back from that little mistake. But yeah, Dakota Moniz also dropping back with those tires also. So it's just showing right here you can easily make a few mistakes, and it's such a momentum-based racetrack that if you lose that momentum, it takes you a lap, or really even 2 sometimes, to get that momentum back built up.
As right now, drivers have swapped positions. Nick Crawford is moving up to 2nd as Nolan Hicks falls to the 3rd. Denny Cochran going to be at 4th place. Curious on how the 31 is going to attack this stint, as he really fell off. Almost was outside of the top 10 when the time into the yellow came out. I mean, right before pit cycle started for that 31 machine. The driver that was up in 2nd, Cedric Hunter, he's got to do exactly what he did on that first stint, which is work in the back and slowly go forward. As here's some rivalry. Ethan Smith, Cedric Hunter. Zach, these 2 drivers, not the biggest fans of one another.
Yeah, we've seen that from the long run. The great content that you've been putting out, Sam. We've definitely got to see the animosity grow between these guys, not only in there, but also in the Discord chats that always go through on a weekly basis. But the 13 able to make a nice clean pass there. But, you know, for how much animosity these 2 guys have, they actually race each other pretty clean. There's really nothing that's really happened between them all season. It seems like it's just more of disagreements off the racing surface. But off the racing surface, speaking of, is the 25 of Cody Reed. It looks like he pulls down to the low side there and has some issues.
He got absolutely tail slapped by the 38, who got loose at it too and forced the 25 into the outside wall, and Cody Reed could be done for the night. These 2 drivers have not been the biggest fans of one another either. And they were actually, the 2 drivers got bounced out last round, and now Christopher Norris continues to race on while that 25 is down in pit road.
Tough break for Cody Reed. I know he's having a tough night, first of all, anyways, here. So it all seems to pile on when you're having a bad night like that. But another 2 drivers I've been battling all night, it seems like, is the 8 and the 14. They've been kind of around each other all night long, as Noah is trying to set up a pass here. But he also got Trenton Jump up ahead, trying to set up a pass on John Forbes and also Ethan Smith there, as the Blackjack duo is right there. But right now, definitely, you know, really surprised by how good some of these tires are from some of these guys out here.
Yeah, I mean, for that of seeing Nolan Hicks if we get into a late run where these drivers have, a 6-lap difference, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to stay out if it's like a late run. Curious also to see if we see drivers go with a 2-tire stop and get some late cautions, as we've seen Ethan Smith be the king of the 2-tire decision making. But currently, right now, we're seeing the middle of the pack where a lot of this movement is, of drivers having to check up, or if they get loose, get out of the way, as we are seeing right now Trenton jump John Forbes. This driver's going back. Whoa, a little bit of a late block there, though, by Trenton jump onto John Forbes. Was not expected to see that from the 46, who does not want to give an advantage to the 11 at all on this run.
Yeah, that was definitely on the far aggressive side there from the 46, but he does not want to have to work over that pass once more. He's like, I've got it done. You ain't getting back to my inside there, so he covers off that inside and really does a good job of doing that. So great on there of that 46 machine to hold back Forbes, and also good on Forbes for not, really pushing the issue there, knowing that these guys are 2 playoff guys. If they get involved in something, and especially if the 11 gets nose damage, that can really play really bad for them for the rest of the race. We haven't even got to the stage break yet. It's definitely a smart decision to back out of that situation.
It's crazy to think, as drivers behind this group, you're seeing some time bomb moves. Being Mays right on board with that of Trenton jump, getting by Nolan Hicks. Behind them, that of Noah Steele, GT Rizzari, they continue to bicker back and forth with one another, and actually the 8 getting some damage by some contact between the 2 drivers, which you hate to see that from from GT Rizzari racing pretty aggressive. By that of Noah Steele. Noah Steele, this is the exact scenarios that have made it to where he hasn't been able to finish some of these races, and it's crazy to think, races where GT Rizzari isn't here, usually when we see the 8 perform very well.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. Interesting case there between these 2, but they're battling hard, and the 8 machine, he's got the playoffs on the line for him, so it's definitely what he's looking to do is move to get the most points as possible. Is now Christopher Norris trying to come back from that, and look at this, now the 14 up ahead going to the inside of the 86. That's going to give the draft to the 38. Is exactly what the 38 wanted to see, is now he's going to be able to pull almost to the inside of Nolan Hicks also.
There we go, easy peasy, making some passes as Christopher Norris trying to figure out this track a little bit more each and every go around. A lot of drivers sometimes come into races where they don't have the most speed when it comes into qualifying, but throughout the race is when they truly learn how to work this track, which I know for Cedric Hunter, that for that 13 machine, that's usually when he figures out this track, is once he's on the racing surface. We're in these packs as we are coming up to 10 laps to go in our stage. Top 10 drivers get those bonus points, as the tail end of the field really is just getting mixy with one another. But the same can be said for those up front, as Cedric Hunter has already made 3 passes on this restart and is up to 4th.
Yeah, he's doing a good job here at gaining ground, and it seems like his struggle has been always those short runs. He just doesn't seem to have that pace to take off and really contend, because this long run speed, that last part of that run, was really matching the 77, but you can't match the 77. You're going to have to be quicker if you're going to want to go up there and get that lead. So the 13 definitely going to need to find a little bit more short run pace, because the long run pace is there, just not in that first probably 10 to 15 laps is where he's feeling the best, but maybe finding a little bit more this time with a little bit fresher tires than his competition right here.
This pack of 4, this is second back to 5th place. And where's our leader? Well, he's a mile ahead from everyone else. Still 2 seconds ahead of everyone practically. Mark Whitley really wanted to continue on his streak of winning at least 1 race in every round so far of the playoffs, but it's been the cutoff race for the last 2 rounds. What a way to secure himself one of the favorites to try to make it for that of our final 4, and a win here tonight would secure that championship berth for this 77.
Yeah, that would be huge for him again, like I said, just to not have to worry about North Wilkesboro. I mean, that just gives you the opportunity to go ahead and prepare for that championship race. And I mean, if anything shows, I mean, the 77 broke the wins record here for the ISRC with 7 career wins. Now going to be looking for 8 here tonight. Maybe it'll be a 9th for his championship here. He's going to be looking to take home, as season 1 was just so close for him. Just getting getting overtaken in that last race by Vincent Sora to get that championship. So he's definitely on the comeback tour this season, trying to make up for that season missed there last season.
And as well, looking deeper in the pack, Noah Steele, you can see it visibly, that right side damage for the 8. And he is now hurting on the speed, much slower than the paces that he was doing before. And Zach, that aerodynamics I was talking about earlier in the broadcast, really starting to show now for the 8, who is now outside of the stage point window, and everyone else that's in the playoffs, they are in those top 10 looking for those bonus points.
Yeah, that is a tough break for Noah, man. That is, you don't want to see that happen to somebody there in the playoffs. And like you said, it's just that aerodynamics, man. You know, not only is he losing on some downforce points in the corner where that truck's not going to have as much grip from before, but also now he's going to be feeling the real big effects on the straightaway the most. So that is a tough break for him, but we'll see how he can look to maybe rebound here in that second part of the race, maybe get it fixed up here under that stage break, and maybe he'll have some type of speed left there for the end of this race. But losing out stage points, as all the other playoff contenders are in the stage, is not what you want to have happen to yourself.
8 more laps still to go before our stage break at lap 50 for tonight's race, and this has been quite an adventure already for these drivers. We've had one caution, and it was during the pit cycle. Christopher Norris missed that of the pit entry, spun out, found himself being sideways on the racetrack. That brought out our yellow that has put drivers in a scenario currently where there's a ton of different tire situations. Yeah, Mark Whitley with some of the freshest rubber out up front, but a driver with 1 lap advantage over him, Oli Fonseca, stuck back in 4th place, but one of the fastest drivers on track currently who pitted at our stage break. That's the 46 of Trenton Jump, who we see on screen, closing in on our pack of 4. That's second back to 5th.
Yeah, Trenton, I've been watching him here slowly close in on this group, and yeah, he is looking very quick now, and having that lap led for him to that help there at that caution time. But he had to start so far behind. I'm so surprised by how well he's been able to close up to this group, and it's showing that maybe he's found a little something here, and you don't have to watch out for a defending champion into that second half of the race.
He's been looking fast with the drivers that also took tires at that point. Christopher Norris back in 9th place. He's starting to try to make his push to try to maybe steal more points from our playoff contenders. As again, we've got that of 7 of our 8 playoff drivers still up inside of our top 10. Only one not there was no steal, back in 13th place. There's a little bit of scares happening for the battle for second. For that of third, Oli Fonseca and Danny Cochran got a little bit mixy, but here comes Cedric Hunter to the inside to push that 31 up. And here comes Trenton Jump. Gotta be getting the fray as that 31 almost getting to the outside wall.
Yeah, that was super close for the 31, trying to hold back that 13. But now with that super big momentum loss, he's going to have the 46 now to his inside heading off in the 1. And Danny Cochran continuing kind of that trend of, being very quick, it seems like, for the first 10 laps of a run, but it just seems to fall away as the run gets longer and longer for himself. So tough break for him there, but it's definitely the time where some drivers are starting to make their moves as Trenton Jump is trying to make that pass, and now even Cedric Hunter trying to get the big run on the 24 once again to pass him.
Trying to figure out how do you go high? Do you go high or do you go low? And it's going to be the high line for the 13 as he goes after Oli Fonseca. Update coming out of turn 4, that last lap. That of Dakota Moniz clobbers the outside wall for the 5. Immediately went into pit road. And for the 5th, for that of the 5 machine, he's got a lot of damage he's going to have to repair. And he will go a lap down as the pass for that of 3rd is official. Cedric Hunter on the move, trying to catch up now to Nick Crawford, and the gap from 1st to 2nd continues to grow as Trenton Jump now trying to go for the pass over that of Oli Fonseca.
That is Trenton Jump trying to make it stick there, and that's going to be close racing between those two coming out of 1 now down to turn number 2, and Trenton Jump going to make that pass work, and our defending champion liking what he's seeing here up to the 4th position, and this is going to be huge stage points for him in that 46 as he's going to want that chance to go defend that championship. He's had a tough season so far this season, but man, I tell you, he could turn it all around in these last few races.
He truly could, as he is just still searching to find himself in victory lane. Is that a Trenton Jump as he continues to be up front and battling. Crazy to think that our last season, our previous season champion, hasn't found himself in a victory lane. And we thought we were going to see it at some road courses. He got some misfortune, caught up in some wrecks. That's been a big thing. Even when I watch Trenton's live streams after races and get a sense on how his reactions were throughout a race, it always seems like it's misfortune. He just feels like there's such a bad luck ohm over him. And that's the reasoning why he can't find himself in a victory lane. But he certainly wants to crack that at some point. And here tonight, that off sequence, having that 3-lap advantage over Mark Whitley, it's working out. He's back up to 4th.
Yeah, he's using it to the best of his advantage here. He's been able to work himself
Oh
up
no,
farther.
Ollie
Oh
Fonseca
no!
gets into that of John Forbes into the inside wall. That was off the bumper of the 31, and now Ollie Fonseca's got a blown engine.
That just turned everything upside down, and John Forbes was the innocent bystander and all that, and it was just an aggressive side draft from the 31 into the 24. It turned them down into that 11 machine.
And that is going to hurt at least 3 drivers. You see the ultimate damage goes to the 24 of Ollie Fonseca, but then the other 2 playoff drivers, Danny Cochran, who's been struggling on the long run, well, that damage they just collected with that of the back bumper of the 24 machine isn't going to help him, as well as the 11 of John Forbes. That's going to be terrible for himself to work with. That's some damage you never want to collect, but now it's a duel between who's going to get the bonus point. John Forbes, Noah Steele, 10th and 11th, and both dealing with some type of damage.
Yeah, this has really shook things up for sure here, and Noah's still going to be looking to try to make it up here. As looking at their damage on both of the trucks for myself, they look almost identical when it comes to the right front fender, so they're going to be pretty much at an even here. And we've seen Steele's shown a very good pace early in this race, now trying to close back into this 11, and this will be huge for him. Every point matters, like we bring up every single time in these playoffs, and this 1 point could be the reason you go on to fight for a championship, but just a little bit tight out of turn 4 for that number 8 machine, and loses a little bit of ground to Forbes here.
And also for Danny Cochran, he's got to be worrisome on the fact of any type of damage he might have collected. That could be something that could be hurting him on losing some of these bonus points. Again, he was running up inside of our top 6. He's currently 5th, but now he's got the threat of GT Rosari, that of Christopher Norris on his tailpipes, trying to steal these positions and bonus points that are going to be so crucial. You want every single advantage you can going into North Wilkesboro next week. But now it's the final push. 2 laps to go. About to be 1 lap left in the stage. And if a caution comes out, that will also mark our stage break as that of the 31. Will we see GT Rosari get a little bit aggressive as his rear end really starting to show an opening for that of Christopher Norris?
Yeah, he slides big there off of 4. Now the 38 going to make the big move, and Christopher Norris, after making a huge mistake trying to get on the pit road, he's fixed things up. And look at this, Ethan Smith, he's going with an interesting strategy here. He's going to hit pit road on the lap of the stage, coming to that white flag, and he's going to look to get service done on this truck and then not try to go a lap down here. This is an interesting call, something of a road course we would see sometimes.
And with this type of an advantage, he's trying to hope that he doesn't go a lap down for 1. And as 2, this is setting up for a win, but that's giving away any type of stage points that this 000 is going to grab. He was in 8th place. That's 3 bonus points that you're saying, I don't want. I'm going for a win to lock myself into the final 4.
Yeah, it's a big head scratcher for me, Sam, because, yeah, those 3 points that you're giving up, yeah, you might get the lead here and get 1 lap led there, but those 3 points that you're giving up, I mean, you know, that's bigger than 1 point you get for leading the lap. So I just don't see the reasoning behind that, but maybe Ethan has something up his back pocket. He thinks maybe the clean air will be the key for him to try to go out there and get this win. But man, that's going to be tough because, you know, the pace here from his 77 has been fantastic pretty much throughout the whole entire race. You're going to need something big here to stop him.
Bizarre situations out here on track. Ethan Smith giving up bonus points, and it gives it to the rest of the field as it's going to be seeing our top 10. Mark Whitley in the 77 going to be in first. Cedric Hunter in second. Nick Crawford takes third. Fourth goes to Trenton Jump. Danny Cochran's going to take fifth with Christopher Norris sixth. Seventh goes to GT Rosari. Tyler Dengler's going to get eighth with John Forbes taking ninth. 10th goes to Noah Steele. 7 of our 8 playoff drivers get those bonus points. As we are going to take a quick commercial break, we're going to go side by side to you so you don't miss a thing as you're watching the playoff action of the ISRC Truck Series. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You're watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series here for the playoffs, the round of 8, and a little bit of blocking action as Mark Whitley trying to defend that of Christopher Norris in the 38. Mark Whitley sliding through his box under pit road, and it's cost him so much time and positioning, and now he's under threat here in traffic, and also a chance to get damaged, as this is a scary place to be. Side by side, contact, Mark, contact the wreck, a bunch of playoff drivers involved.
That is exactly what the 77 didn't want to see, and that is just huge. And even Tyler Dingler comes in there late and hits him. This right here is a whole change-up of things, and man, oh man, that just shows you getting yourself back there with a simple mistake like sliding through your box. You can be involved in just a simple incident like that.
Tyler Dangler absolutely blowing up his engine with that of an absolute ARCA brake. I get that there was smoke in front of him, but he just drove right through and gave the most damage to the front end of the 77, who somehow is able to continue to run. But we're going to take a replay of this. Zach, we come back at the perfect time. Christopher Norris, we've seen him all night long be loose. He's made contact with that of other drivers before and had a sense he was going to get loose. Fresh rubber, cold tires, and at turn number 4, the dominant driver of the night, not safe.
Yeah, man, you got to feel for Mark there, because look at that, just slight contact. I mean, the 38 there, he's trying so hard to pass around the outside, and you kind of got to know your situation there if you're that 38. You can't get loose here and take out a playoff driver like that, and that is going to be something that's probably a little bit scrutinized from a few people out there. But it's a simple mistake out of that, but you got to know that stuff like that can possibly happen. And man, just like that, the 77 night goes from so good to just terrible.
Just absolute travesty. And you see the 19 coming down, making contact, giving even more damage, and that's what blows up the engine of the 19 machine. And there was most of that drivers that were involved in that wreck, majority of them had already collected some type of damage at some point. But now, Zach, looking at the drivers that were involved with that incident, I believe it's only our top 3 that don't have any damage at all and are in some prime opportunities to go for a win here tonight. And those 3 drivers, Ethan Smith, Cedric Hunter, Nick Crawford, all drivers that if they win here tonight, they're locked in for the Final 4.
Well, this has changed up everything. The whole race has been pretty much reset. At this point is the 77, who is the dominant car, or truck, sorry, I should say, all night long. It's going to be in a tough position with a lot of damage. It's going to be tough here to race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, some damage, and that's going to be a tough break for him. But luckily for his sake, he did get that stage 1. That's 10 bonus points there. He came in with the 5 extra points from winning in the last round. So that's going to be 15 points there that he's kind of got in the bag. Now, other playoff drivers did go out there and get stage points also. But I still think Whitley, if he can get out there and salvage at least maybe a top 10 out of tonight here, he can have a good point position headed into North Wilkesboro. And the speed he's had all season, he should be in a good spot heading there. So it's tough to see for him, but this, like you said, has opened up the door now for one of these other drivers to try to go and lock themselves in. And Ethan Smith, I mean, we were head scratching there for a moment, thinking, man, why was he pitting there right before the stage? It just didn't seem like the right call with the stage break coming with him in 3 points position. But now he's got the lead, and with the 77 in trouble here now, this is going to be, possibly a chance for him to see what he can do with this clean air out front.
And for Ethan Smith, actually, was also a miscommunication on his part. He thought the stage break was at lap 70, so he was actually on the right path, if you thought about it, for breaking it up to make it to lap 70, but it actually was a lap sooner than when the stage break came out, gave him the positioning. And we've seen other drivers, same scenario, after our first yellow that came out, they were all on different tire stints. It worked out for those that were just 1 to 3 laps off. Right now, Ethan Smith is looking good, but if we look at the track of drivers that were all involved with this wreck, we got a lot of them, and a lot of drivers heavily damaged. Those that are heavily damaged from earlier incidents, we start that of 4th place, Noah Steele. He got hit by GT Rosari, who's on his outside. GT's dealing with a little bit of damage for the 14 machine. Then we saw Danny Cochran, John Forbes, and also Ollie Fonseca get some damage. That's where that of Rowe was 6th and 7th place. Behind them, all the drivers that were just caught up in this wreck, going to be that of Nolan Hicks, that of Mark Morales Jr., as well as that of Christopher Norris, Trenton Jump, Mark Whitley, all heavily damaged. And for Trenton Jump, Mark Whitley, some of our favorites to try to even make it into the Final Four. Well, now, they might come in with one of the biggest holes. Luckily for Mark Whitley, he did have a 5-point bonus advantage, but how much was that advantage going to help him as we get ready to go back to green flag racing? Zach, this whole entire race, way now, get to throw it in the air because we're coming up to just 50 laps to go. It's practically like a new stage, and we have dwindled this race into just maybe a handful of drivers that have raceable trucks to go for a win. Pace car is off. Let's get back to racing here for the Logan's Lead 275.
Just like that, Ethan Smith with a great start out front. It really opens up that gap. Now the 13 is going to jump down to the bottom. The 4 going to take solid control of that 3rd position. Irizarry is going to slot in the 4th spot as Cochran's in 5th. This has really shook things up now. Irizarry going to look possibly to the inside of the 4, not going to be able to be there close enough to make it happen. But as they come out of 2 down the back straightaway, everything has been turned upside down on its head there. As you see the 77 there in the background, major damage on the nose.
Major damage on the 77's nose, but I gotta say the other driver with some major front end damage. That's the 46 of Trenton Jump. Kind of did a little bit of flashback to Kyle Busch. Really got a great launch and was able to dive down low after cutting down across the field after they crossed that of the line, and with that slight speed advantage was able to grab that of 3 positions for the 46 self. But again, extremely under speed. The top 3 are those to watch out for, and Ethan Smith, he's hoping he doesn't get left in the dust as drivers snaking their way, hoping to get any type of advantage to get by the 0-0.
Yeah, every little bit of advantage you try to take here down these back straightaways, trying to break that draft at 0-0, and he wants to lead as many laps here as possible. He knows that if that 13 gets ahead of him, that could possibly be his chance of locking himself in and going away. So, man, oh, man, this race, you can see it already, the snaking begin, and that just tells me the 0-0 is looking in his mirror a lot. That is a huge thing when, you know, it's myself as a driver, when I'm catching somebody and they're trying to break that draft ladder, that lets me know that I'm kind of in their head and they're trying to, you know, do every little thing they can to pull away from me. And at that point, you just kind of settle in as a driver and say, okay, do your thing, and then just try to work your way slowly up to him. We'll see, can the 13 do it? He's had great long run pace all night. The short run's not been there for him, so in the position he's in now, he needs to just sit back here and let this run come to him.
Sit back, relax, and just see how the run's going to go, because each driver still have one more pit stop to take them to the end. And that could be a changing factor. Again, we're in the middle of green flag pit stops during our during our stage run, and then we saw the incident with Christopher Norris that brought out the yellow. Have to see how much that should change things for these drivers. Could the pit road stops change the factor here, as our top 2, Ethan Smith, Cedric Hunter, trying to pull away from the rest of the field as Nick Crawford just settles in 3rd place, and looks like the 14, that of the Ford machine and the 14, just in cruise control, just trying to see what the front runners in front of them are going to do, because with Mark Whitley out of this race is completely different. It's almost a little bit of a flashback to the way that the last round started at Road America, where we saw Nick Crawford get disconnected, and it transformed who could win this race from a dominant driver to a wild card of who knows.
It really just shows you that until the checker flag is out, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, someone can have such dominant pace, and it just takes one simple racing incident like that, where a driver gets to your outside, gets loose, catches you out, and then, you know, there's really nothing you can do. He's just an innocent bystander at that point. He's trying to make it back, and I think the biggest thing Mark's probably going to go back and look at that is say, man, I just wish I wouldn't have slid through my box, and it's so easy to do. Indianapolis has some of the most small pit stalls just because they're built for IndyCar. They're not built for stock cars, so it's the size of the boxes are very, very small, and they don't have a lot of grip in them also, so it's very easy to make that mistake, and just like that, that's what put them back there in that danger of that. But here's Trenton Jump in the 46, who also got damage from it. It looks like his damage not nearly as bad as Whitley's, as he's been able to run about 2 to 3 tenths quicker than what Whitley can, but yeah, definitely to the top upper you know, guys that don't have damage, the pace is well off with these 2.
And now also looking at some of the drivers that are mixed and mingled, my eyes are kind of looking at 5th place, because that's where we find Danny Cochran as well as Noah Steele, and those are the 2 drivers that are battling to be the 4th best finisher of our playoff 8 drivers right now. Noah Steele, who we were talking about coming to the end of the stage, kind of in a questionable mark spot of, well, how is this 8 going to recover from the damage? He got contact with GT Irizarry. Is that going to be something that hinders him for the rest of the race? Well, now his narrative completely changes up to where it could be the 4th best finisher of the night of our playoff drivers.
Yeah, he really could be, man. This is changed things up. I mean, literally, we were talking about that damage and stuff and how it was hindering him. Now he's going to be in position to really pull something off here and really get a great result. It really, again, that incident just shook things up to really the maximum. Like you said, you compared it to Road America, and I would compare it just to that because it just shows you, again, you never know what's going to happen with these playoffs. Every single point can matter, and just even getting 1 to 2 stage points here tonight could be what makes or breaks yourself. So we'll see what Noah Steele can do. Didn't work out for him in the stages, but here in this second half, he's in a much better position there. As even John Forbes right behind him. Remember, he got caught up in that incident. Both of those two really making a good rebound.
Really are, and saw a little bit of a movement as the 00 of Ethan Smith. He is struggling for our leader right now. He is missing his points on track. The entry of turn 3 came in a little bit too high, got out of the racing groove, and here comes Cedric Hunter in the 13, snaking down the front stretch is the 13 of the 00. Cedric Hunter bounces the high line, but it's going to be just not enough speed for himself. Now the question is on Ethan Smith. Zach, you talked about it. Mirror driving is the 00. That easily can make him cost him on mistakes, and you cannot afford any now. You've got to hit your marks if you want to hold off this 13.
Yeah, and I tell you, the thing about it, too, is you talked about how down there in turn 3, he missed it last time, and that is really can be a factor of this mirror driving, looking in your mirror, trying to break this draft. Then you look up, you're at the corner all of a sudden, and you just drove in just that little bit more deep. If I'm Cedric Hunter here, I'm really trying to back these corners. I look at it. He lets the 00 go way out there, gets much lower on the racetrack, gets good air on the nose. If you keep doing that, sooner or later that 00, he misses that groove, it's going to be just a very, very easy pass. It's not even going to have to really even use your tires to do it. So I think this 13 right now, kind of just trying to find the perfect situation to make it happen. But with the run out of 4, he might even be able to get to the quarter pounder here heading down into 1.
Gonna be trying to get a little bit of draft, gets into the quarter panel, trying to give a bump at the entry of the corner to cause the 00 to just go a little bit too fast, side by side for the lead on the entry of turn 1, riding on board with that of the 13 and Cedric Hunter, trying to make that outside lane work. He's gonna be still side by side, and here comes that of the drag strip on the back stretch. Who do you help? The 4, the teammate of the 13, goes to the outer groove. Same for GT Rosari, and the 00 of Ethan Smith, the older tires, no friends to be seen, and now under a threat heading into turn number 3.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough position to be in if you're Ethan Smith here, because he's also going to have that 4 looking to get to the quarter panel also. But the 00 slides up in front of the 4. The 4 looks maybe to cross back under, but new leader here coming to turn number 4. And that'll be the 13 of Cedric Hunter. But it looks like Ethan Smith, a little mistake there coming out of 4. Maybe going to give the opportunity to the 4 here to make something happen. They're going to continue here down to the yard of bricks.
Diving down low, hoping to see any type of snaking action. It doesn't work out, and actually he's going to give a complete opening. Now Nick Crawford, he'll be right at the quarter panel. Huge just let off for Ethan Smith. He was hoping to keep it side by side with the 4, but doesn't work out. It looks like that of Nick Crawford. He's still going to make that outside lane work for himself. He gets back to the throttle sooner, and that pass for second is made, and here comes GT Rosari now.
Yeah, GT's going to have the momentum here to look to the inside, and now the 4, look, he drops low. He knows that 14 is not a threat in the playoffs. He looked to maybe give him a little bit of draft, but slides back up to that groove, but the 00 drives it in super deep, and he's well out the groove. This is going to give that 14 every opportunity to make that pass, and he will. Now third place to GT Rosari, and here comes Danny Cochran, who was involved in that incident with Ali Fonseca. He may be able to make something out of this race here after having a tough race so far.
And no assistance to that of the 31 machine. Will we see the 8 drop down low, and it's going to be just a mad dash into turn number 1. And at the quarter panel is Danny Cochran. Again, reminder, the 00 of Ethan Smith. He is on 3-lap older tires than the rest of the field, and that's where we're starting to see this longer run hurt that 00 as he went from the lead back to 5th in just 3 laps. And Cedric Hunter, who has been the fastest on the long run, now leads the way up front as Ethan Smith continues to fall down the ladder. Noah Steele now going to be in the picture to try to make this pass.
Yeah, Noah Steele, man, I tell you, he keeps showing back up here and just really showing that he never gives up in this 8 machine. That has been just the story of his playoffs. It's just been a never give up mentality. And right now, clawing his way back after getting that damage. Probably got a little bit of it worked on during that stage. That's going to help his pace here a lot here for the rest of the night. But all over the back deck load of that 0-0 here, heading down to the yard of bricks. Can he try to make something happen here? Heading down the one, he's going to look to the inside. The 0-0 looks to cover it off, though. But the 8's just going to wait this time to see maybe can he make that 0-0 overdrive and make that easy pass. As I was saying earlier, it's just so much easier to pass when someone makes that mistake because of how much momentum they lose.
Ethan Smith hoping that maybe that early pit stop wasn't going to backfire. And that was something Ethan Smith told me. He just felt like he's been making a lot more mistakes recently. Ever since that Rockingham race, the controversy between that of John Forbes intentionally spinning that gave Ethan Smith the win at the start of the playoffs. Ever since then, it just feels like there's been a bad home over the 0-0. And he now is hoping that he won't lose any more positions, or at least the timing to come into pit road will open up sooner than later. But we're still 10 laps away from drivers thinking about pit road.
Yeah, and I know how much Ethan wants to make this here. Is the 8 going to be able to get finally to the inside here down the front straightaway? But Ethan really wants to be, 3 times in a row going to that Final Four. That would be such a statement to be made, in my opinion, just to show the consistency he's had throughout all 3 seasons. But it's going to be a tough into this race for him if he cannot keep those tires from falling off, because he's just quickly falling into the clutches of the drivers behind him. And now his teammate John Forbes in the 11, he'll be the next one to try to take position. Then you got Hicks and then Norris in the 38 machine. So it is a tough break there for the 0-0, who got some laps led. That helped him, but those 3 bonus points that he could have got from the stage by pitting that 1 lap earlier, that could come back to haunt him here if he doesn't make that Final Four by a couple points.
And now we're going to be seeing himself just sitting and waiting. But the driver up front, Cedric Hunter and Nick Crawford. Zach, both these drivers were outside looking in last week at that Nashville Fairgrounds. They were able to bounce out that of Christopher Norris and Cody Reed, who were both the bubble drivers. And it's crazy to think Cedric Hunter at one moment stated if he didn't find himself moving into that round of 8, he wasn't going to race in the series anymore. He found himself there, and now has an opportunity to race for a championship, which has been the goal of the 13 ever since he joined this series.
Yeah, this is going to be the goal of his. He's going to be looking for possibly his 4th win here in his career, in this season here, in his first season here at ISRC. And I know he was a little bit down after Road America. He made this simple mistake going through the kink there at Road America, one of the toughest corners, got into the grass and then lost it from there into the inside wall. Didn't get any stage points. It was a very early wreck and into the night for him, and pretty much was in a very tough position heading to the fairgrounds, but he went out there and had great pace. He wasn't the fastest truck out there all night, but he had top 3 pace, got good stage points, and other drivers having those simple mistakes and incidents that really came back to bite him. It just shows here that, man, you can never give up. I know that the 13 probably thought he was out of it. He was probably going to take a win, but now if he goes and wins here tonight, he'll be in position to win a championship possibly.
Then we think back to the 4 machine of Nick Crawford, who decided to come in, race with these drivers. He found himself winning at Bristol, and he's just been right there in the action, always fighting for every position he can. And right now in 2nd place, and what a fantastic points day he could have for himself. Danny Cochran going to be our 3rd playoff driver out there on track. The 31 comes in tied with Mark Whitley in points because of his win back at that of the Road America race that saw Nick Crawford be disconnected from. Now in a position where he's trying to hold off the 8 of No Steel, and Steel still searching for the first win. But our Cinderella story for the 8 machine, with the way that tonight is unfolded, really looking like the story is not over. It is not hit midnight just yet for the 8. There's No Steel in 5th place and just hounding Danny Cochran, who's been really the driver struggling the most on the long run, which, Zach, I'm surprised to see by this 31 machine.
Yeah, it is head scratching, man. I know how much Danny preps. He puts a lot of preparation coming into these weeks here, and I'm kind of surprised to see him struggle on these longer runs. It's just, personally, it comes down to a lot of times what fits your style as a driver. Certain tracks just don't fit certain people, and from what I've seen, the 31 is just seeming like this track's just not falling into his alley. And the biggest thing I probably see him making the mistake of is just not getting low enough on the racing surface. Noah's still behind him. He's getting that left front every single time below that white line. While that 31, it just seems like he can never get that nose below the white line, and that is a tough thing to do, because not only does it not have as much grip up that racetrack there, but also you're just giving a lot of clean air to that driver behind you that you would be taken away if you were just that half a lane lower on the racetrack.
as these drivers continue to run on. One driver has gotten to the outside wall that last lap. That was Christopher Norris at a turn number 4, which has been his trouble spot all race long. He had the troublesome spot of locking up coming into pit road that brought out our first yellow, then the contact with himself and Mark Whitley that brought out our second official on-track incident to bring out a yellow. But lap 75 here tonight as drivers trying to grab every point possible. The 38, though, he will fall behind that Trenton jump as drivers now a little bit closer. We're 5 laps away from drivers hitting pit road. And Zach, that's kind of where I want to talk about pit stops. When do you think to come in? Because you note on it, 31 laps is the window drivers can take it. That means lap 80 is that window opening up. Do drivers that are deeper in the field try to take that opportunity, or do you think pushing it as far as you can is the better spot to go?
Yeah, there's always that catch-22. You know, you can undercut someone so much here at this racetrack just due to the fall-off that we're seeing. I mean, you know, right now we're seeing Cedric Hunter out front running 53.36. His fastest lap of the race, or sorry, a 55.36. His fastest lap of the race is a 53.55 that was in this run from this run itself. So you're almost already seeing 2 seconds of fall-off here as we get closer and closer to that pit stop window. So the undercut is going to be very, very powerful. But at the same time, I think you're going to want to probably stretch it as much as you can because the tires just are really tough to hold on to. And it does seem like they continuously slightly do continue to drop off. It doesn't seem like there's too much of a plateau. It does seem like there is a little bit slowing down of that drop off, but that drop off seems to continue here at this 2.5 mile race starting surface. But it'll be interesting to see who makes that call. But I think, like you said, at lap 80, that window does open up with it being 30 laps to go for these drivers. You might see some drivers here possibly elect to take it to maybe around 85. We've had, a few caution laps here and there to help them stretch it, and that would possibly put them in a little bit better range there for those tires heading into the last portion of this race.
We're starting to see a little bit of that plateau effect with Ethan Smith able to ride along with drivers that are damaged. That of Noah Steele trying to poke the nose. How do you get by that of the 31 of Danny Cochran? Cochran's been giving some openings for that 4th place position as you see John Forbes kind of seeing the action drift away from his grasp to try to grab any spots as he's really starting to fall off in positions. But gotta say, this battle for 4th, so important and impactful for Noah Steele. If he wants an opportunity to fight for that last spot in the playoffs for a Final 4 position to race for that championship, this is his best opportunity. Get by Danny Cochran, get 4th place, maximize your points so that when Mark Whitley is done with tonight's race, that gap is not a 15 or that of an 11-point gap. It's down to a much more manageable 5 points because with Mark Whitley winning the stage, getting those 10 bonus points, leading a lot of laps. He didn't lead the most laps, but he led a lot of them. Certainly a lot of bonus points heading to 77's way for that of Noah Steele, Danny Cochran. They've got to find ways to minimize that gap heading into next week, where we're seeing right now Danny Cochran trying his best to defend this 8, but it just seems like the tire's drifting away. Steele, the closest he's been on this attack this whole entire stint.
Yeah, we'll see. Can he get the run here out of 4? Just not enough, but the draft should help him a little bit here heading down the front straightaway. And like you said, that was the closest he's been all night long. It's just so tough to try to get that extra little bit of speed. And right there, he got close to the bumper, but just could not fully get to the inside of that 31 as they head through 1 and 2 here. Is now through the short chute down the turn 2 and looking to the inside here. Cochran's going to have to close that door, and he does. But it was a late close, and that 8's going to be all over the back bumper. This could be his opportunity here with how close he is. He's going to look here down the back straightaway to the inside. The 31's going to throw a little bit of a block, but I think the 8's going to be there.
And he's going to be able to get the run. He's going to be on the inside, preferred lane to be in. But will the 31 decide to use up some more of those tires that really aren't there anymore? As they're going to be side by side into the wall. It's Danny Cochran as he drifts up. Noah Steele trying to give him some space. The 31, it doesn't work out. And that is some massive damage added on even more as he almost grazes the wall out of turn 4. And Zach, it goes from bad to worse for that 31 machine.
That it does, and like you said, major damage on that right front. I mean, it's splitter, it's quarter panel, it's hood, everything there on that right front fender. And Ethan Smith almost was able to just get there in one full straightaway. This 31's going to be in trouble down this back straightaway where that drag's showing. And look at this, Ethan Smith already to the inside of that 31 in big, big trouble. And
now Danny Cochran, so much damage that I believe even John Forbes back in 7th place, who's been 2/10 off of the pace that these drivers in front of him have been, he might even be in striking distance for that of the 11, which is going to push Danny Cochran from battling for 4th back to 8th. A dismal situation for himself to be in. And now he's got to be in trouble even more, because if Danny Cochran's speed is so off the pace, he could be in trouble of having even more drivers take those positions.
Yeah, because personally, the damage is pretty bad. I mean, it's not great looking on that right front end. When you have splitter damage, it not only takes the most effect, but it just takes a huge chunk of downforce out of your truck. And when you're at a flat racetrack like this at these high speeds of about 150, 160 mile an hour through the corner, it is going to be very tough for him to hold on to that machine in that position. So we'll see how it works out for him. But Ethan Smith, he sticks to his strategy. He comes down here on lap 81.
And also now going to be seeing other drivers 5 laps away from expecting them to come into pit road for our leader and others. It's going to be 4 tires and fuel for Ethan Smith, and he's back out on track. Going to be doing with the undercut, which should put him in that proverbial lead position, but we'll see if it works out for himself. As we see 3rd place runner GT Rosari 3 seconds off our leader, about a second and a half off of Nick Crawford, and Crawford into pit road.
Yeah, Crawford makes the pit call to come down the next time by. If I'm Danny Cochran, I'm probably going to have to be coming down soon. He elects to not do it, so interesting call from the 31 there, who's getting closed in quickly by that 11 of Forbes. And if he gives up that position to Forbes, that's more playoff drivers going around him. And then also Trenton Jump, he's got a lot of damage, but if Cochran struggles enough, maybe Trenton Jump closes into him. That's where even more playoff contenders get past that 31, and then he gets in a tough position from that point of the race.
And Zach Danny is in some major trouble. He is running now almost a full second slower than he was, and he was already dealing with damage and tire wear compared to what our leader was running, and being a full second off is a terrible situation. That means he is in trouble of potentially falling to that of 8th place at this pace that he is going at by the end of this race. That's if everyone continues to run, and when they come into pit road and the way everything cycles out, Danny could be all the way back, which is going to put him almost equal footing with a lot of other drivers as into pit road. Going to be that of Cedric Hunter as well as Danny Cochran into pit road, and also Noah Steele and a big gaggle of cars following suit.
Yeah, I think everybody knows this was the time to come down if you ever were going to do it. And I think GT Rosari, he's going to stay 1 lap out there to try to get something done. But major moment for the 13 as he came to his box. So just showing those pit boxes, like I said, they're very small compared to other pit roads, just not very wide. And it makes it tough not to get in there too deep.
Noah Steele and Danny Cochran both missed their stalls. Noah Steele dramatically misses his stall. He missed by 2. He had to back up, so much time lost, and he actually backed up too far. The 8 absolutely throwing away his advantage that he just had.
Yeah, just like that, man. Again, it comes back to strike. Those pit boxes, they're just tough. And not only that, but the concrete part of them, it's just so slick. You get on there, and it just seems like you lock up the brakes almost immediately. And not only that, but this is a 60-mile-an-hour pit road. A lot of pit roads we go to are 45 to 55. The caution's out on the racetrack.
Yellow flag is out, and we're trying to find out exactly
13.
where it happened, and it is the 13.
I mean, he just lost it coming off a pit road. Not the greatest moment there for the 13 machine, as he's going to have a major time with those tires now, and this is also going to set up an interesting call here for these drivers on strategy.
This is a saving grace for one Noah Steele, who gave up over 12 seconds of time because of his overshooting mistakes, and as well helps out Danny Cochran because this allows him to get some more damage repair, and Trenton Jump and everyone else that was caught up in that previous yellow. And also, Zach, it helps us out. We're going to take a quick commercial break here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're going to step aside. You won't miss a thing as the drivers are under pacing. We've got that of 4 drivers that need to come into pit road. That of John Forbes, Trenton Jump, that of Christopher Norris, and Mark Whitley all need to make their pit stop. This could be the money stop. And who decides to use up an extra set to make sure they're in an advantage? We'll find out as we come back for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series, the Logan-led 275. They're splitting, and it's a complete mayhem.
We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7, takes out the 00.
They're 5 wide behind for pit. Oh my, the 5 wide here. This ain't gonna work, is it? They're already wrecking into turn 1, and now coming through that of turn 2. Daytona. Oh no, they're wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall. Gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron. Drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside trying to get the win. And it's William Edison stealing it at the line.
Into the wall. The 18 trying to block. 77 gets into the 18. That leaves 3 of TJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of TJ Roberts is going to steal the win here.
What second fiddle so many times last season. Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200. Drivers, start your engines!
4, 3, 2, 1, green screen. No laser grip whatsoever. I'm sideways. Sideways everywhere. Come on, man. Do what you can. The vibration in this car is the worst vibration that I've ever had, and the shifter's broken again.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to that of the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. Late caution. Could be our money stop for a lot of these drivers as we're about to get back to green flag racing. We are coming up to the last stages of this race. As the drivers are set, it's Nick Crawford, GT Rosari, Nolan Hicks, and Ethan Smith. All drivers on old rubber, and we're back to green flag racing.
And just like that, oh man, Ethan Smith looked to make a pass to the inside. Just could not get it done there as GTR's already covers that off. But also now the 13th throwing a big block on the number 11 machine there, heading down to turn number 2 as everything's getting a little bit more aggressive.
Oh,
Martin Morales in the wall.
John Forbes, others all collected into that. Also going to be seeing Christopher Norris and another major contact and carnage. Influenced and involved are going to be playoff drivers as John Forbes just was not lucky after that one. After the 91 tried to hold the outside lane, but it was the 11 that got loose.
That was a tough break. I mean, you know, he also had Noah still right in the middle of it. Luckily for his sake, he doesn't get involved in it as it goes around him. Trenton Jump just makes it by it, so does Danny Cochran. But that opens up the door for more of these drivers, that these guys with damage, to try to get some more pace back up from themselves. So tough break, but John Forbes there getting that super loose there in the corner. Martin Morales nowhere to go for him, and it's just a tough break for that 91.
And sadly, we don't have the replay, but 3 drivers involved with this one. John Forbes, who got loose up into that of the 91, and Martin Morales, who then came down into that of Christopher Norris. Those are the 3 drivers that were involved with that incident. Heavy damage going to be given to the 91 and the 11. 38 was kind of smashed in the middle, but like you said, Zach, that of Trenton Jump, Noah Steele, very lucky to get away from this one, as well as Danny Cochran.
Yeah, that they are, man. very, very lucky to do that, and we'll see what the strategy is here for these drivers. Will they elect to come to pit road? I know it's only been a few laps on the tires, but with this track having so much fall off, 2.5 miles, I wouldn't be surprised to see someone try to attempt to come down here. I mean, if you don't have the greatest track position at this point, you might as well come down. But a lot of those trucks that don't have the great track position are damaged trucks, so we don't know how much the new tires would help them. I think Ethan Smith, he's looking to head to pit road. Also, GT Sorry Man, Nolan Hicks. But now they're going to elect to decide other. There's going to be 3 drivers in the back and going to pit road, and that's all the drivers involved in that latest yellow.
That is going to be seeing John Forbes coming in pit road, Christopher Norris, as well as Mark Morales Jr. all going to be getting themselves repairs for themselves in pit road. As we got one more sponsor still to read, and guess what? It's ourselves. It's the holiday season and the best time to give out a gift. And I know clothing usually is a gift that people like to give out. Well, we've got clothing to give you. We've got our Freaky Fast Broadcasting merch line. We got hoodies, we've got shirts, and plenty of other great items with great colors and sizes to fit you to go get for yourself. I know for myself, I'm probably going to get a couple of more t-shirts. As for Freaky Fast Broadcasting, the fabric feels fantastic. The logo's so defined. And you want to be repping some of the best broadcasts out there? Well, Freaky Fast Broadcasting is the way to go.
That it really is, Sam. I tell you what, it's that time of the year for hoodie season too, so I think I might be grabbing me one of those hoodies also. So, man, I can't wait to see what else we got in store for there, but it's definitely a great, great time as the cold season's kicking in for sure all around the country, man. So definitely want to go out there and get yourself a Freaky Fast hoodie to join the fam. But, man, I tell you what, the biggest thing here now is, we saw, Cedric Hunter had the big slide that brought out the yellow there while we were, while pit stop sequences were happening. How much did that damage his tires? How much will he be able to play out with that? Because we've seen him. He's been very, very quick on the long runs here tonight. But did that take the life out of the tires that he's going to need to try to go up here and battle for this win? And especially with us here coming to 21 laps to go this time by. I mean, when we go back green, we're going to be almost under 20 to go.
It's going to be less than 20 to go for these drivers. It's going to be a pretty quick turnaround. And how much of these drivers are willing to work with their damage and the tire wear difference without that of, not knowing for sure on Cedric Hunter's tire wear after that slide. This is where the tires lie currently. The drivers with the biggest advantage going to be those that pitted earlier, going to be that of going to be seeing that jump Danny Cochran, Mark Whitley, Mark Morales, Christopher Norris, and that of John Forbes that all also had some major damage they had to deal with. The other drivers that pitted under our green flag running going to be that of seeing GT Rosario with the biggest advantage for himself, 6 laps of tire usage compared to the 5 laps. It's only 1 lap difference between those that just pitted on that last yellow. Then a 2-lap difference, going to be that of Cedric Hunter and Noah Steele. Same, going to be actually only going to be 3-lap difference for that Nick Crawford compared to those that just pitted just that of 3 laps ago. 4-lap advantage going to be over that of Nolan Hicks and Ethan Smith. Those are the 2 drivers on the oldest tires. And Zach, we saw Ethan Smith look good, that he could carry on up front. That was when he had fresh air and only lasted for about 20 laps. So for Nolan Hicks and Ethan Smith, both in the disadvantage being behind Nick Crawford and GT Rosario. But this restart, who wants to be gutsy and go for a pass?
Yeah, I think the door has been pretty much kicked open at this point for someone to go out there and get it done. So let's see how it works out here as they're going to be coming to 20 to go when they take this restart. Nick Crawford, he's been a good second to third place truck all night long. Could this be his opportunity where, everything went wrong at Road America? This could be his time.
Well, you have been watching the Logan led 275, and it's time to see 20 laps to go over 110 expected here tonight as we're green. Nick Crawford, a fantastic launch for himself. Here comes Nolan Hicks on the inside as well. Going to be side by side for second. Will Cedric Hunter try to force it 3 wide? He'll stay in line with the 86 machine as they come out of turn number 1. This is where they've been looking stable, but Hicks moves up into the Rosario. They hold on, and Zach turn 2 is where we've seen all the issues, but the 4 clear, moving away. Hicks able to move up to second, and also going to be Cedric Hunter. You're seeing the bob and the weave and the passing going on. Our top 3 single filed out, though.
Big runs all around here down the back straightaway. The 13's probably going to cover off the inside now. Got the 00 there. Ethan Smith right on the back deck of him. But Nick Crawford trying to drive away, but Hicks mixes the corner. That gives the 13 opportunity. Now Noah still past the 14 at Irizarry. He had a big slide, and the door's been opened up even for Trenton Jumper to come into the picture.
And also going to be seeing some others trying to fade into this mixture as here comes Noah Steele, going to be giving the draft help to the 00 as Nolan Hicks going to have to just stay on the high side. The 00 is going to have the nose and trying to make the pass here. Old tires, doesn't matter. That 00 is trying to hold on to third. But I got to say, Noah Steele looks pretty comfortable, but his old rival of the 14 at GT Irizarry is in his mirror. I would be a little bit nervous, but Trent Jump is still looking strong for the 46.
That he really is, man. With that damage coming into this picture here, he needs to make something happen here as he got involved in that incident that took out the 77 there with that 38 machine earlier. And he's going to try to make up ground here late in this race as the door's been opened for these drivers because so many mistakes, so many simple things have really opened up the chance for damaged trucks to have some better positioning here. And I'll tell you what, we'll see what Trenton Jump can do with it. A defending series champion, he wants to be in that Final Four again.
He wants so badly to be there. Nolan Hicks going to be on the outside as the 46 getting no draft assistance. He'll have to fall back in line and try again on getting by the 86 machine as they are battling for 6th place. But up front, it's the teammates, Nick Crawford, Cedric Hunter. They are trying to pull away from Ethan Smith as well as Noah Steele. Steele hoping for a 3rd place finish. What a run that could be for himself. Trying again to be that 3rd driver. He was aiming for 4th of our playoff drivers to finish, but right now, in an opportunity with the way that Ethan Smith's got old tires and the way that the 00 falls off late in the run, Noah Steele's in a prime position as long as he doesn't have any more squabbles with the 14.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't want to have those squabbles happen, but they're also becoming here lapping the 38 machine, so gotta watch out. The 38's had a few moments tonight that have took a few drivers in bad positions, and now here everybody trying to charge past them here on this front straightaway.
Mark Whitley does the extreme move away, does not want to be caught up again with Christopher Norris as they were the two that got into contact after a stage break. As they continue to race on, all the drivers get in line once again. And into the long run, how are you going to protect your tires? Nick Crawford in the most, positive spot to be in, but with 17 laps to go, like we've stated all night long now, anything could happen. Mark Whitley, the dominator of stage 1, he won the stage, now in a falling position where he doesn't want to be losing any more spots. But speaking of spots, GT Irizarry dives down low. The freshest tires of those up front in our top 5 makes the pass for 4th.
Yeah, great pass there from GT, and he's been quick all night, and he's been finding a little bit better long run pace. He was the 3rd fastest prep on that last run there. He's going to be possibly looking to take the podium position away from that 00 who, tonight hasn't had the greatest pace. I think Ethan Smith's going to actually be pretty happy with how tonight played out, even though he lost those 3 bonus points in the stage. They came down a lap early, but with how it's all shook out, he's in definitely a better spot than it all started tonight with him starting back in 16th and not getting a qualifying lap in.
It also helps when a lot of those fast competitors get whacked out as well. As Ethan Smith, maybe it's not for the win, but the luck certainly has helped him for the best finish he can get right now with sneaking action up front. Nick Crawford, Cedric Hunter, they might be teammates, but the race orders might be just race it out as the 4 trying to hold off the 13. But we know that between our front runners, Cedric Hunter has been the one that's been the stronger of the 2 on the long run. How long can Nick Crawford defend? Or could we get a late yellow that really could change up how Cedric Hunter has to attack this race?
Yeah, we'll see if that slide on those tires can affect that 13 also. He had a big slide there coming out of pit road that brought out that yellow. So will that have an effect? But I think you're exactly right, Sam. No team orders here. I think these drivers know this is their chance to lock themselves in to that final race for this season and try to fight for a championship at that Phoenix Raceway. They know, it's imano now between those two. They know that they have to race each other as hard as possible, but they know they're not going to try to get into each other either. They're going to race each other as clean as possible here to give both of them the chance to move on to that Final Four.
And if you don't win tonight and lock yourself in, you've got to worry about the short track. There's been a short track in every round for the playoffs so far. The first round, it was Rockingham to start out the round of 16. Last round, it was that of Nashville Fairgrounds, and now passing for the lead, Cedric Hunter, who does not want to worry about next week when they head to North Wilkesboro. 15 laps to go for the drivers out there on track. 14 now as the 13 machines try and take the lead.
Yeah, and this is the best opportunity for him here, heading down the ones, able to clear that 4 machine. Can the 4 cross back over? Not enough grip there available for him. He's got the slot in the second, and now the 13. He's going to do his best job here in these final 14 laps to try to do a disappearing act. But I tell you what, he can't make any mistakes. You know, you got to be clean here, because we've seen tonight, it just at any moment you can step out from you, and we've seen drivers just have those big mistakes that you can go from, you know, being very, very fast to almost a second slower with damage. So damage cannot happen here late in the race, and that's what these drivers are going to be looking to hang on to. His old GT Rosario behind the 00. He had a big slide coming off of 3 there, and now in position, possibly even to make a pass here coming out of 4. The 14 wants this spot.
He really wants this spot, and all that this is doing is hurting everyone else. But again, GT Rosario, some of the freshest rubber out there up front, and he is right now running some very fast times for himself. Slightly slower than our leader, but the other drivers that are up front, based on the speed on that last lap, the first fastest, our leader, Cedric Hunter. Second fastest is actually GT. Third fastest is that of Noah Steele. Then we find Ethan Smith be the fastest. Nick Crawford, of our top 5, he is the slowest right now based on that last lap.
Yeah, did he go out there and push that a little bit too hard there to start this run off? That is going to be the big question for him, because, you know, he was out there in the lead, and he also, you know, came to pit road a few laps earlier than Cedric Hunter did also. So, I mean, or at least 1 lap earlier, sorry, than Cedric Hunter did. And, you know, GT Rosario, he was the last of these drivers up front to pit. So we'll see, can he use that to his advantage? But Ethan Smith here, he, you know, this time not as at much of a disadvantage as he was before earlier in this race with those tires, but still at a little bit of disadvantage, being one of the first drivers to hit pit road during that last sequence. But it looks like this run, he's been able to hold on a little bit better here. And with 12 laps to go, this podium would go a long way for his efforts to get into that final 4 for the 3rd time.
Steele scrubbing off on that outside wall. He's going to be losing some time, but still decently quick. He's going to worry about that of Nolan Hicks, though, if he gets too much damage in that 5th place position. But Zach, another thing we haven't touched on, because damage has been the big talking point of the night on who's got the most, who's really in the aerodynamical spot better, is dirty air, and the fact that there is a bubble that the drivers are working with.
Yeah, there really is, actually. I mean, the dirty air is really, really bad here. It is probably, this track is notorious for some of the worst dirty air, just due to the speeds and the lower, you know, level of the banking. So it makes it tough, but when you get closer and closer to that person also, you kind of start to shove them out, as you would say, like a bubble. So, you know, you get that bad dirty air effect, and then you start to shove people right out in front of you, and it's kind of makes it even tougher to pass once you get to that back bumper. So we'll see, can Irizarry try to set something up? But right now, that 00 looking clean right here coming out of turn number 2 down the back straightaway with enough gap, hold back that 14, but for how long is going to be the question. We've seen him make mistakes earlier, just missed the corner just by a little bit, and give those opportunities to the drivers behind him to make the pass. Right now, Irizarry, he's also a little bit up the racetrack also, so both of them not getting the most out of it.
They're really trying to just hold on, and we'll see on this last lap on how that tire wear advantage or disadvantage is looking like. Because based on how these drivers are running around one another, it certainly is crazy to see our front 2 that have given each other plenty of space. They're running so much faster than that GT Smith, as well as Noah Steele getting the wall. That slight damage is kind of hurting him on the exit of these corners, but we're looking at that of Cedric Hunter, Nick Crawford. They're running a 2/10 faster than the drivers behind them. Cedric Hunter, on the other hand, he just put down a 54.3. That is 3 to that of 4/10 faster than everyone else. It's in our top 5.
Yeah, he's really setting sail now in the 13, letting this race come to him. You know, had the, you know, probably I'd say the 2nd fastest truck here tonight. You know, we didn't get to see him and, you know, Whitley get the battle straight up. Unfortunately for Whitley, you know, that mistake on pit road put him back in the mix, and from there he got caught up in the incident, so we never really got to see the battle between the 13 and the 77. But man, Cedric Hunter's taking advantage of it, and he is really going to try to lock himself into his first season here at ISRC, into that final 4. And man, what a threat he will be for that. I know that a lot of drivers were hoping he was not advancing last week out of that round of, you know, round of 12 to this round of 8. And with him making it there really by just a few points, this could come back around to be his chance to fight for a championship.
I mean, both I would say are front two right now. I mean, Cedric Hunter, Nick Crawford, they were most of the field were hoping that these two would not move on. They both struggled at Road America with Nick Crawford's disconnection and then with Cedric Hunter wrecking out in just the first 5 laps of the race. Those two drivers had a mountain to climb out of. They did so last week at the fairgrounds, maximizing on their stage points, maximizing on where they finished at the end of the day, and reaping the reward of other drivers' misfortunes. Once again, 2 weeks in a row, did it last week to get into the round of 8. Well, this week, they are taking those misfortunes and succeeding in really trying to take the most out of it to set up going into this of next week as the drivers going to be finding themselves heading that of North Wilkesboro, short track racing, where the unknown and the unpredictability is going to be something hard for these drivers to try to set up for. Many will practice, many will try to set themselves up for a great run, but as we see behind, Ethan Smith under some heavy pressure blocking and defending GT Rosari, and now is the only race that you have control over. If you're that 00, you don't want to throw it away with the 14 pounding your back bumper.
Yeah, you know, Ethan's got a lot to risk here. I mean, you know, the question is how much does he want to risk it? That's going to be the question. You know, and Rosari, I'm sure he knows the picture. He knows that, hey, this is a playoff guy. I don't need to, you know, ruin his night. But at the same time, Rosari has nothing to lose. He's not racing for anything. If he goes out there and makes a simple mistake, he knows, well, whatever, you know. But for Ethan Smith, he's got to weigh those options, and that's where it gets tough as a driver. So Ethan here doing a good job. He's hitting his marks, and he's been able to kind of solidify that gap with about 2 to 3 car lengths behind him. And Noah still, he seems like he's dropping back just a little bit off these two also. So this seems to be evening out the more and more we go. And if Ethan Smith can bring home a top 3, I think this will be a huge night for him and a huge, you know, boost going into North Wilkesboro next week, where he's going to try to find himself in there for the 3rd time in that Final 4.
Good comeback for himself, as he should be that either 5th or 4th driver based on where everyone's running currently and how the points are going to be shaking out, especially with the stage points that were grabbed, the lack of points grabbed by Ethan Smith, and the high finishing. It is going to be a close, hard-fought battle going into next week as we are in the 6 laps to go range. Cedric Hunter just continuing to try to pull away, but drivers deeper in the field that we haven't really talked about. Mark Whitley clobbering the wall that of 5 laps ago, trying to get by Danny Cochran. Cochran's been able to get by Trenton Jump, as Jump's had more issues, but Mark Whitley under the threat of losing even more spots for himself, which I got to say for the 77, he's got to be feeling great on the fact that he came in with a 5-point buffer, winning the stage. Any misfortunes, it just means that he's going to have an advantage over those drivers, just going to get a smaller advantage going into next week's race.
Yeah, and the tough break for him with the damage, he seems pretty decently quick through the corners. It doesn't seem like they gain too much on the corners here, Morales does fine. But as soon as you go on that straightaway, all of that drag there on this car really kicks in, and Morales just really closes right up to him. And luckily for his sake, not too long to go in this race, because John Forbes, with the pace he has, he's looking at about to be about, you know, a half a second to 0.6 of a second faster than Mark Whitley also. So he could have been looking to drop outside of the top 10, but I think he's got to just, you know, pretty much settle for 10th here.
Settling for 10th with how the night started, obviously not the way that he wanted it to go. As the drivers continue to race this out, 5 to go. As Mark Whitley, he's just a sitting duck waiting to see how he is going to get past. Drivers over the radio trying to make sure that they get around each other cleanly. They don't ruin anyone else's nights. As it's 5 to go. It's been a long one. Drivers have been out there on track for quite a long time, Zach. And I think for a lot of the drivers, much longer than they truly wanted to be for the way that this night has gone.
Yeah, definitely. I know when I saw the 110 lap count, I was like, oh, that's an interesting lap count actually there. So, yeah, I think a lot of drivers probably would have liked to have this thing been over already. But I tell you what, you know, it's definitely shook things up a little bit here tonight for sure. As that longer first stage, you had to hit a pit stop before it. It really kind of changed up the strategy of the whole game. So we'll see if they can make it clean and green here to the end. But with 4 laps to go, coming to 3 to go next time by, Cedric Hunter, I think, just needs to be consistent. It doesn't have to be perfect. He just needs to make no major mistake, and he should be looking to kiss those bricks.
Yeah, and those mistakes, we've seen it in a blink of an eye, can throw away anyone's race so far. As out front, coming around these last couple of bends, they make it 3 to go. Cedric Hunter You saw that last round, first race, wrecked out on lap 5 and had to fight and claw at the fairgrounds. But tonight, 3 laps of hoping that this race stays green so that he could say that he's locked in and racing against the other drivers and making the final 4 to race for a championship at Phoenix in 2 weeks, which Zach, having the advantage of having a 2-week of just practicing for the championship, much nicer than having to worry about your fate next week.
Oh, trust me, it helps a lot. It gives you a lot of confidence, first of all, as a driver that, hey, I got extra preparation time. I don't have to worry about the next race. And the next race is a big worry for a lot of people with it being North Wilkesboro. I mean, that's a tough short track. Then you go to Phoenix for the championship race, which we know how tough Phoenix can be. It can be a place where it's either, you know, a very clean race or just a caution-filled race. It seems to go either way there. So to have that preparation, maybe get yourself prepared the best you can. And I know Cedric Hunter just knowing him myself so well, you know, he doesn't put a lot of preparation into, you know, Monday nights. I think if he goes out here and does get this win here with 2 to go, I think that's going to be something he's got on his mind that, man, I probably need to go ahead and prep for Phoenix because, you know, I'm not going to be able to just go out there and win it on raw pace by just showing up. I need to go out there and be the best I can be if I want to win the championship.
Fight is what he's going to want to do as it is 2 laps to go for that of Cedric Hunter as he's on the back stretch. And you can see it behind the duel for third. Ethan Smith heavily blocking GT Rizzari, which I've seen these drivers do it before. We saw it a lot last season of Ethan Smith and GT Rizzari blocking one another. And Ethan's got to be careful because I know GT's gotten fed up before, and he's been willing to just hold steady and use that front bumper to spin someone out. And we're coming up to the white flag where no caution will be looming as it's going to be across the line to 13. The Ride Rad white flag is out in the air. This is it, Zach, for Cedric Hunter. What a fight it's been. He's just got 4 corners to make it through to lock in for the final 4.
Yeah, what a fight it's been. He didn't even know if he'd make it to this round of an 8. Just did it by the hair on his chin. And now going to look to be the first driver to lock themselves into the final 4. Just got to hold back his teammate, who's about a 1.5 seconds back, down the back straightaway for the final time at this famous racetrack. His look behind in the background, it's Ethan Smith trying to hold off that 14.
He's trying his best to hold off the 14. Doesn't want to get caught up in a wreck because then you could lose so many more positions. Because if you wreck out, you could fall all the way down to 11th instead of a 3rd place finish. As up front, it is all Cedric Hunter coming out of turn number 4. He has been fighting. He showed strength on the long run. But as for seeing that of Mark Whitley and others taken out, it has been all the 13. Lock him into the final 4. Cedric Hunter, win number 4 of the season.
Big win there for him, and great finish there from Nick Crawford, and also Ethan Smith taking on 3rd. That's going to be huge for that 0-0 machine. He wants to be, like I said, there for the 3rd time in the final 4. Huge moment there for him, getting the top 3 and holding back that 14 machine in the last ditch effort.
And then Noah Steele finishing 5th. I mean, what a run for that 8 machine who we kind of were saying maybe he's out of this, but then all the carnage, the floodgates opened up. And the 8 was gifted a 5th place finish here at the end of the day. We'll have to wait and see how the points kind of file in going into next week. But Zach, it looks to be very close. And a lot of drivers, some could be in a must-win scenario with the way that their fates have been sealed. John Forbes, one of those. As you see Cedric Hunter surrounded by drivers giving him some congratulational bumps here and there. But the 13, he gets to celebrate with some burnouts here at the Yard of Brents.
Yeah, definitely a great celebration, and what a place to do it at. I mean, this track is just so historic. Let's see if he can pull off a nice little burn here. It's actually pretty tough to do. This place is not very wide, and also we'll see what he does here as he slides across the bricks here and parks it there on the front straightaway, going to do the burnout there, standing against the wall. So congrats to Cedric there, and a great win from the 13th, like you said, 4th of the season.
4th of the season, he locked into the final 4, and we've got ourselves the post-race show here in just a few moments. We'll talk to our top 3. We'll give you more details on where drivers finished. Thank you for joining us for a long race, but we'll be back in just a few with our top 3. Ethan Smith, Nick Crawford, and the 13 burning it down in just a few moments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name's Sam Dyer. I got Zach Hall with me. Thank you to Robert Moyer Jr. for running productions in the background. Well, let's start things off with our post-race show. We got third place finisher Ethan Smith in the 00 to get his thoughts on how tonight went. Ethan, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. Congratulations on a third place finish. Tonight seemed wild for everyone, but man, how was it for yourself out there?
Oh, unfortunately, I had some technical issues at the start, and I didn't even get to qualify. I started in the very back of the field, which was pretty annoying, but I made the best out of it. For whatever reason, normally I have good long run speed, but I had horrible long run speed here. And my main goal was to really not hit the wall. So I was playing it safe. I was really saving tires on every run. So everyone would pass me pretty late. I just didn't want to trust it and hope it stuck because, usually once you send it in the corner, there's really not much you can do. So I just kept my right side clean. And unfortunately, a lot of people, Mark, Danny, all these guys, my teammate John Forbes, unfortunately got damage. So they, couldn't compete very much towards the end. But I just kept my truck clean, and that was my goal, and it worked out.
Yeah, man. Well, definitely it worked out for you there very well, bringing home this third position. But we got North Wilkesboro next week, Ethan. And, you've been in the Final Four the past 2 seasons. How do you feel about your chances heading into North Wilkesboro next week to try for the third time?
I mean, I'm confident. I always say I'm confident, and I am. The only thing that I'm a little more worried about it this season than I was prior seasons. The reason is I didn't get any stage points, and I know a lot of the guys that I'm competing against did, and I just finished ahead of some of them, and some of them by not very many spots. So I don't think I'm in a comfortable spot, but it's a smaller track, so it's I really like small tracks. I have a pretty decent record on small tracks, so I'm really looking forward to it. I just gotta hope something like Nashville doesn't happen again, and just try to make it to the Final Four for the third time in a row.
And we can't wait to see you try to go for that surge next week. Ethan, before we let you go here tonight, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
You guys for the broadcast, friends, family, anybody else that's watching, teammates. Cody, unfortunately, he didn't have a night. He had to end early. Forbes got some damage. But thankful for my teammates. Cedric for racing me clean. When I had the lead after the stage, my tires started to show, and he passed me clean. And I raced around a lot of people fairly clean, so I'm just thankful to some of them. But yeah.
Well, that is going to be the 00 of Ethan Smith. Congratulations on a top 3 finish. Have a nice holiday, and good luck next week heading to North Wilkesboro.
Thank you.
As we go from third place, we head to second place with the 4 machine of Nick Crawford, Snowy Desert Racing. One of them didn't succeed, but the other 2 did with a 1-2 finish. Nick, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on a second place finish. Man, how are you feeling after that one? Because it seemed like everyone behind you had probably the most worst day they could have asked.
Oh yeah. Hi Zach. Hi Sam. Hi Robert. Yeah, that was interesting. It seemed like it was another race of attrition. I was so worried about hitting the right side of the truck that I was just trying to take it easy and somehow ended up in the lead. And when you don't have issues and everybody else does, then you end up towards the front.
Well, Nick, man, that was a great run for yourself, and like you said, just a great, definitely a night of attrition, and you were definitely on the good side of that thing there for yourself. But you got North Wilkesboro left now. Your teammate Cedric Hunter, of your Snowy Desert Racing team, there is locked into the Final Four. How do you feel heading into North Wilkesboro next week? Do you think your chances there are good? Because we have seen you perform very well on short tracks this season.
Oh, you didn't see last race then. But I don't know. It's a track I don't have a lot of experience at, and but it seems like a lot of the playoff guys had issues, and they still kind of bounced back. So I pretty much got as much points as I was going to get tonight, and that should be a nice cushion. But still gonna have to work for it over there. I think it's gonna be similar, just keeping the car clean, staying out of wrecks, and finishing towards the front, top 3 preferably. But we'll see. Probably gonna have to put in some practice for this one.
We can't wait to see how you perform next week, Nick. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I just want to say hi to everyone watching. I think Becca, Larry, and then Derek, and also shout out to my wife. She's amazing. Shout out to you guys. Also to my teammates, they do a lot to help me, and then also other people like Danny and Ollie, and they really helped me yesterday in the practice, and even Cody did. But yeah, that's all I got.
That is going to be the 4 machine, Nick Crawford. Congratulations on a second place finish. Have a nice holidays and good luck next week at North Wilkesboro. As we head from second place, we had to go to Victory Lane, where we find the 13 of Cedric Hunter, who found himself being one of the fastest on the long runs, and it worked out when we had a decent run at the end. Cedric, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. Congratulations on your win. But man, how are you feeling after this one? It was a long race, 110 laps.
Yeah, feeling pretty tired. Obviously excited. We just about got eliminated last week, and now we're moving on to the final 4. So it's a huge swing, kind of in momentum and stuff like that. So obviously now I've got my eyes out on Phoenix, and hopefully we can bring it home. We'll see. Phoenix is not particularly a track that I'm superb at, but I'm sure I'll be putting down some a decent amount of work, and then hopefully we can improve. And like tonight, I don't plan on running 6 laps of practice. So.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was going to go with this, Cedric. So congrats first off on the win. Congrats on making the Final 4. I mean, when does the preparation start? I know we got North Wilkesboro next week, and you probably want to help Nick Crawford, your teammate, try his best to, get into the Final 4 with you also. But, when does the preparation begin, my friend? Because, like you said, you're going to do more than 6 laps here than you did tonight here if you want to have this pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, whenever my Snowy Desert teammates want to start practicing, I'm down for it. I tend to not practice too much by myself just because it's boring. So as long as I have somebody to run laps with, I definitely plan on running laps. Obviously, Zach is my Category 5 teammate outside of this league. I'll be probably reaching out to you since you're really good at that track too. So we'll see. We'll try and. Obviously, we have to focus on North Wilkesboro and getting Nick through. He got a lot of good points and put himself in a really, really good position after tonight. So congrats to him. But all eyes on Phoenix, and we'll try and go win the championship.
Well, we can't wait to see how you perform in 2 weeks. But Cedric, congratulations on your win. And now the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to you guys for everything that you guys do and all the fans out there. I know this race was long. It certainly felt long in the truck, and I'm sure that you guys felt it as well. So I want to give a huge shout out to all the fans out there that tune in, anybody that supports me, the number 13, Hello Kitty, pretty much in every league that I go into. So thank you to everyone out there that tunes in on a weekly basis. All the drivers that came out tonight. We didn't have a huge turnout, but it made it at least more enjoyable. The fact that we had 17 people or so that started the race. Obviously, the number could have been a lot lower. I know it's hard, and it's hard to find a reason to come out if you're not really racing for anything. So I appreciate all the guys that came out. And then also shout out to Mark, man. Like, I obviously won the race, but outside of maybe the last 10 laps of the run, I don't think I would have had anything for him. He just unfortunately got caught up in something, but he had really good pace, and I'm kind of glad that it worked out in my favor that he got caught up in something. So we'll take the win, and we'll look into the future.
That is going to be the 13 machine of Cedric Hunter coming away with tonight, looking like the man that found himself in victory lane. Congratulations, Cedric, and good luck next week at North Wilkesboro.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
As that's going to be our winner from victory lane. And Zach, as we take a look at our unofficial results here tonight, gotta say, you look over this whole entire venue, and you got to say, when it came to the end of this race, the true man of the night was that of Cedric Hunter.
That he really was, man. That 13 machine, he's going to lock himself in. And I know a lot of drivers are going to be saying, man, how do I join him now? They're going to be prepping for North Wilkesboro, looking to find that speed.
That he was. As winner here tonight, going to be the 13 of Cedric Hunter. Nick Crawford going to be in second place. Ethan Smith going to be find himself with third. GT Rosario not able to get by that 00 late. He'll fall to fourth. Noah Steele, fantastic points day for the 8, going to be in fifth. 6 going to go to Nolan Hicks with Danny Cochran 7th. Trent Jump, damaged, wounded, 8th place for the 46 machine. That of Martin Morales Jr. comes away 9th. That of Mark Whitley falls to 10th. Crazy to see. And Zach, we look at the rest of the field. Obviously, John Forbes outside of the top 10, but man, a lot of unfortunate scenarios bubbled up there after our stage break.
Yeah, they definitely did, man. You got to feel for Mark Whitley. Just excellent pace all night long in that 77 machine. I mean, looking for 2 in a row wins after winning the National Fairgrounds last week. That would have been big momentum for him. And, just a simple slide through the box, put him back in the mix. Then a driver makes a mistake on your outside trying to make a pass on you, and you're just in a situation from there that you got to survive the rest of the race and just try to make what you can out of it. And for him to get a top 10, I think that's going to be somewhat helpful to him because the guys are not going to gain too many points on him. He did get that stage win. It'll be interesting to see when the points do finally come out here what they look like because man, it's going to be so close. And next week in North Wilkesboro, we may see some drivers have to get the elbows out if they want to get those points.
Who is willing to be aggressive? Well, we'll find out as there's only one absolute. That's the 13 machine. Cedric Hunter, Hello Kitty, will be running for a championship in 2 weeks. 1 slot's been picked up. 3 still need to be grabbed. And North Wilkesboro is going to be our next destination for that run. But for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we are going to be having the rest of the week off. Thanksgiving here in the States, so we are going to be having some festive times. Full Send Racing Series is going to be taking a week off on Tuesday because of the festivities, but they'll be back next week as they continue on their playoff run. We have our last race of the round of 8 next week for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. But Zach, what a run. Can't wait to see what the next week brings as we go back to our traditional 2 races of a week because of all of our other leagues. They're done for the season.
Yeah, it's that time of the year, man. It's Thanksgiving coming up for the United States. And, if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving or whatever, you got going on, I hope you spend some time with your family during this week here while we got a little bit of time off and have a great week of holidays here. It's a very special time. And, man, I can't wait for Monday night to come back around. I can't wait for Tuesday to be out there on racetrack. So it's going to feel weird not having, too much stuff going on the rest of the week here with sim racing. But I tell you what, it's family time, and that's what's going to be the most important thing this week. So shout out to all the drivers out there who did show up tonight, and hopefully they all have a wonderful holidays here coming up to them.
Oh, there's a couple of people that are thankful for some big things. Cedric Hunter getting himself a win, locking himself in. Us, we get some time off. And for you out there watching, you get a little bit of a gift early as that of the ISRC, the long run, coming out later this week. Episode 3, episode 1 and 2 already out. If you want to go watch them, it's the behind the scenes of how the drivers thoughts, feelings of how each round has already gone on through the playoffs. There's been a lot of spicy drama that's been piling in, and the spicy level continues on for episode 3. Some drivers hurt feelings after being eliminated, and we cannot wait to show that later on this week. But for tonight, thank you for watching the long race at that of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for watching here tonight. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.